Good to go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger. I'm the chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024, and the special meeting of the commission being conducted in the Shelton City Hall auditorium via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order at 6:02 p.m. For the record, this meeting is also being carried live on YouTube. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And I invite those participating remotely to do the same. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. I'll start off with the roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Commissioner Parkins.
Present.
Commissioner Laskos.
Present.
Commissioner Tiki.
Present.
Commissioner Motto.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner McGee.
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Cristiano is
Present.
okay. Thank you. Myself, Commissioner Harger, Mr. Rossetti, our administrator. Ms. Castro, our assistant administrator. Present. Mr. Panico, our consultant.
Present.
Ms. Vernassos, our recording secretary.
Present.
Ms. Charbonneau, our stenographer.
Present.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge that Corporation Counsel Francis Teodoso is joining us this evening. Okay, a couple of points before continuing with this evening's agenda. Mr. Rossetti will act as the Zoom meeting host, while commissioners will be able to make comments. Throughout the meeting, the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized before speaking to make sure our recording secretary and our stenographer are clear as to who is speaking. Tonight, we have the continuation of 2 public hearings and the initiation of a third, and I would like to share the public hearing protocol. Mr. Rossetti will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. Written comments were received, they will be read into the record. The applicant and its associates will make their presentation. The commission can ask questions during the presentation or at its conclusion. Excuse me, the applicant and or associates can answer commission questions at the time they are presented or at the conclusion of the presentation. At the point in each public hearing when the chair asks for public comment, those members of the public participating remotely will be asked to use Zoom's raise your hand feature, and those participating via phone will be asked will be recognized after dialing *9. But prior to members of the public, if there are any elected officials in the city of Shelton that are here in the auditorium or participating remotely, they will be recognized first. After you are recognized, please state and spell your name and state your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when doing the minutes and transcript of the public hearing. Each speaker has 5 minutes to present comments, which should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merit of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments previously presented. If the public hearing is a continuation, public comments are restricted to new material submitted by the applicant after the continuation of the previous public hearing. Comments and questions should be directed to the chair, not to the applicant and or his associates. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. The applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public after the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak. The commission feels further information is needed from the applicant. The chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. If the public hearing remains open, the commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. The commission feels the applicant and or his associates have answered all questions and have addressed all concerns from the commission and or the public. The chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Staff will then schedule a discussion about the application and upcoming commission meeting during which time the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. The chair has the prerogative of taking items out of order, and we are going to go to public hearing C, consideration by the Planning and Zoning Commission to prohibit retail sales of cannabis by amending paragraph 23.2.5 of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Regulations. Commissioner Amato, would you please read the public hearing?
Sure. Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Shelton, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Be Zoom and in person at Shelton City Hall to consider the following. Initiation of a public hearing to discuss cannabis operations and retail activities, as well as determine and take action on whether to continue a temporary moratorium and permit or prohibit the associated uses.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Amato. On March 29th, 2022, the commission approved a one-year moratorium on the acceptance of applications and the use of land or buildings for adult use cannabis businesses. That moratorium was extended for a period of 1 year by the commission on March 29th, 2023. Mr. Rossetti, were there any comments received from the public that we need to acknowledge for the record? No. Okay, can somebody get that? Sign into. Okay, we'll begin with the public portion. And I'll look first to see if there's any elected officials of the city who are here in the auditorium. Thank you. Okay, first person is Eric McPherson, second ward alderman. Come up to the table here.
Table.
Table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can get on the,
Oh, all right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. With regard to this particular item on the agenda, I am absolutely opposed to any possible facility for any kind of marijuana related or cannabis related items. You know, we can't be all things to all people, to everyone. In this case, you have a facility that's going to be in Derby, I understand. You have one that's going to be in Stratford. There's another one that may very well be approved for, I don't know the name of the street, but as you go on the Trumbull Bridgeport line, just before you get to Treeland, there's a brand new building there where a facility is supposed to be going. So they have 3 other venues that people can access without coming here. You know, we have many businesses who would love to come here and locate. And the proof is that you don't go anywhere in Shelton, you can see that. We don't need this. You know, the powers to be in the legislature, for the sake of the almighty dollar, legalize this, and they should check with their colleagues in Colorado because it's a mess out there. People are fleeing Colorado because you can't even sit in your yard without the smell and the stench. So, you know, it's just something that doesn't benefit us in any way. It really doesn't. And as I said, there's the opportunity and the venues that I've stated where people can go to, you know, purchase and access and do whatever they do with it. You know, it's just like we don't have like a big mall in Shelton. So what do people do? They go to Milford, they go to Trumbull, maybe even Danbury. So again, we don't have to be everything to everyone. In this case, this thing, it's not necessary and it shouldn't be allowed. And I would urge for it to be rejected. It does not benefit us whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Alderman McPherson.
Oh, it's just one other thing too. I also speak on behalf of 2 of my colleagues, Alderman Balamasi and Alderman Angles, who could not be here tonight.
Okay,
With this.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public official in the city of Shelton, elected official, didn't sign up? Okay, then I'll move along to Diana Meyer. Yes.
Good evening. Do I have to spell my name?
No, you're fine.
Okay, it's pretty easy. 56 Maple Lane. So, I'm here to talk about the cannabis. I am not a consumer of cannabis, but I wanted to come from purely a financial position. I have a 25-year career in finance and lending. I know recently you've read the headlines that in the newspaper that we've had some issues with healthcare and overruns, and we need money in this city, and nobody wants the taxes to go up. That's one thing the whole city has pride in. And I know there is a small increase proposed right now. And it's my understanding that the sale of cannabis can generate some income, additional income for the city. So I would ask that this commission keep an open mind. The other thing I wanted to explain from my lending experience is that it's very difficult to open up one of these businesses because banks won't lend to these type of businesses. From my understanding in the state of Connecticut, the only people that will lend are credit unions, and even they can be very particular. So anyone coming in who wants to open such a business would have to have their own capital. So you're not going to get, I think there's this belief that Cheech and Chong are going to come in a minivan and try and, put up a shingle. So, the type of businesses would have to be vetted through the state. They'd have to pay a lot of money to open up shop. So I just wanted to point that out to the commission that, I know there's this concern of the type of people that would run this business. The other thing I wanted to point out is that because this type of business is so regulated and it has to go, the product has to go through so much scrutiny, it's a very high priced product. So the idea that you're gonna get ne'er-do-wells off the street to come buy it, I don't think is the proper outlook on this. It's usually a higher end clientele that will go to a legal shop because they want to get a product that has been vetted properly, as opposed to someone going to buy it on the street. And the only other thing I think I wanted to point out is these type of establishments have very, very high security. They're actually more secure than probably any liquor store or bar we have in town. I have vacationed in other states and gone to these places, and you can't even get in the door unless you have a proper ID. I've been with friends and I left my ID in the car. I am clearly over 21 and they wouldn't even let me in the door to even. So the fear, I think there's this fear that children are going to be going in there and trying to. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents in from that perspective, but I just think I'm not saying we should open the doors and let it in, but I think it would behoove this committee to look into it as another possible revenue source for the town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next person that signed in is Brian Essener. Why don't you spell it for our benefit of our stenographer?
Absolutely. It's Essenter, Essenter.
And your address?
Is 256 Van Hill Road. I'm actually a resident of Monroe. I have a business that I'm a member of the GBCC as well, and been part of the Shelton community for quite some time. I'm a pharmacist. I'm also a cannabis pharmacist. I've been working in the cannabis industry for over 10 years now. I worked in dispensaries, helping patients with all of their different conditions, making sure that they medicated appropriately. And now I'm actually a partner in a business that is a product manufacturing business. So a couple of different points that I'd really like to get to. If I have some time and leeway here, I could probably answer quite a few questions. On the dispensary side of things, to the point that the lady before me was making about security, we are way more secure than most of your banks. Our vaults are more secure than most bank vaults are. And you can see the regulations are actually the same vaults that have to be used for any, like besides a bank, but actually for C2 controlled substances. So like you would see in your pharmacies carrying OxyContin and stuff like that. They're not very accessible. You need IDs, you need to be signed in, you need badges to get through any doorways and everything, key cards and such too. Everybody gets ID'd, everybody gets logged into the system, whether you're working or whether you're there visiting or as a consumer. The medication that is there is not out to be seen anywhere. All of the windows have to be opaque. You can't see through anything. And there's no product that they can walk in and see or anything like that. All the ordering they're doing is from an iPad or speaking to somebody. So it's not like they're walking into a convenience store and they're picking this bag of what might look like Doritos, which is not allowed in the state whatsoever as far as packaging or anything is concerned. It's all pure white, pure black, simply looks like a prescription label that's on there with what the medication is that's in there, what the potency is, and the disclaimers as well about, you shouldn't use it if you're pregnant or children or driving or anything like that. There's a lot of misinformation about dispensaries and everything that's out there. They actually increase property value in town. One of the biggest issues that you typically see, especially from a planning and zoning, is traffic control. And the only thing I would say is if that's the case, then Chick-fil-A has, nothing on us. And you will definitely see that as you've seen a lot more dispensaries open in the state, they don't have the fanfare and the mass people visiting them that they once did. As this has really just become a little bit more commonplace. There's delivery. So whether or not they can go to another town and get it, it still can be delivered here as well. They don't have to leave the comfort of their own home. As the lady previously said, none of that revenue goes to the town of Shelton, even though they're delivering it to the town of Shelton. So you see none of that as well. On the other side of the dispensary, and even outside of cultivation, there are manufacturing companies that are like us. We are going to be, employing people as well. So we would be, generating employment in the town, which would also generate tax revenue and everything else. But we would be making food and beverages and other products, some pre-rolls and maybe some vape carts, stuff like that. We're not going to be cultivating anything. We're not going to be selling anything retail. As somebody who's been a member of the chamber, I would love to locate my business here in Shelton, very close to me for being in Monroe. And as a pharmacist, I'm used to being, I want to say saddled with regulations, but working within the regulatory scheme of things. And we are very strictly regulated by the state of Connecticut. To get these businesses open, as she said, we have already gone through the entire vetting process. We are a social equity company as well. So everyone in our company has been completely vetted by both the Social Equity Council and the state of Connecticut as we've obtained our provisional license. So we're not waiting to get a license or anything like that. We're just waiting to build out at this point. We've had some trouble finding locations and such throughout Bridgeport and all of Fairfield County, really, to the point where we're looking to go to maybe New Britain or somewhere that far. We don't want to go that far away. I really would appreciate being somewhere local where we can employ local people and still generate revenue for the town. There wouldn't be the odor concern that you would have with, a cultivation site. Retail, there's virtually no odor or anything like that comes with it. The other thing about retail is you can't consume on site. So it's not like it's going to generate this huge cloud of smoke over this, facility that is all of a sudden going to generate, some odor in the town or anything as well. Else, if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to help.
The way it works is that public makes the comment.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just
And
want to help
from
make
there.
any,
Okay.
and
But
if there's any
Commissioner
clarity that you're looking for on
Parkins?
any of it.
go ahead.
So I've heard and read everything and experienced everything that you've just talked about, but my question is on the tax part. Is the tax revenue that's generated, is that dedicated or restricted to drug education, or is it able to go into the general fund? My understanding is that a lot of that money has to go into specific social purposes, such as drug education and overdose and all that kind of thing, that it doesn't just all go into the general fund.
It doesn't all go into the general fund. There is, the town gets a certain percentage of
Do
it.
you know what that is?
I believe it's 3%.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I believe it is
I
3%.
believe it's 3%.
Yeah.
3% of the sales, and of that 3%, so much has to go toward drug education?
Yes, but not all of it. It can, and that is up to you to decide what avenue that goes, who provides that education and such as well. So it has to go to
But
those
it's a
certain.
state mandate that it has to go to that certain area, but there's no state mandate how much of it has to go?
Not
I
that I,
It's the whole 3%. right? I mean, you,
That's what I'm trying to find out.
yeah,
I'm honestly not completely sure about that.
so, all right. So I'm assuming they're taxes that are generated as a business. You know, it's a normal,
Well, so
Right,
much,
Right, like a
doing
liquor store
business.
would be taxed, right?
Right.
But that tax
That-
revenue isn't restricted
right,
for us, for
Right.
this, for the
but
city.
this
Right.
3% on the sales, I believe,
Could be,
is restricted to.
but we just don't know how much
so
that
much to
3%.
the state, so much to us. The town would get 3%
Right,
of
but
whatever
it
it
would
is
be for drug related.
for drug related, yes.
Yes, okay. And my other question is, are pharmacists allowed to prescribe medical cannabis
No.
now or because, no?
No, pharmacy, so any hybrid dispensary or medical dispensary pharmacists have to be there to run them and be present in those dispensaries anytime they're open.
Mhm.
But a pharmacist cannot prescribe, so can't certify a patient to go get their
The
card. or
doctor
anything
has to,
like that. Has to be a doctor, or nurse practitioner or something. like
okay,
that.
so right now pharmacists and just like CVS are not able to dispense.
No,
No,
That's all I had.
And what's the social equity? Is that something to do with cannabis in particular?
yeah, so
terms of how you
part of the
employ
cannabis
people?
program is if you were born and raised in one of the disproportionately impacted areas in the state of Connecticut, you can apply as a social equity applicant. And 3 of our founders are actually social equity applicants. So that we were able to win our license through the social equity lottery.
From
So-
Connecticut?
From Connecticut, yes. And, I mean, that is our whole genesis is, giving back to those communities that have been
So
disproportionately.
they come in
impacted
as
and everything.
those disadvantaged or people that got
Partner.
arrested way back when for,
Yeah, they're part owners in the company.
Right.
They
How
own
much does-
65% between the 3 of them. Of the company.
and then the investor puts up the millions of dollars that are required for the permits.
Right, then we have private investors that come in and everything that have put out the money. The permits are there, the rest of the build out and everything else is still. We're working on the funding for that, but yes, and as she said, we come in with our own funding. There is no public, private banks or anything like that.
Well, the banks won't because it's not federally legal.
Right.
So
Right,
that's why the
exactly.
bank,
WADE is.
that's why they can't process
big-
money through the banks.
it's-
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks very much for
Yeah,
coming down.
I just
Oh,
have another.
yes.
So, all right, so this 3% is on the gross sales?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any projections or hopes on what
The total
The
sale,
volume
gross
of-
sales.
business that you are doing in some facilities or hope to do?
So, I mean, the state this past year did, I think it was 300 million in sales total. That was amongst about 20 to 25 dispensaries. So, I mean, you can anticipate, around $10 million a year per dispensary that they're bringing in somewhere in that neighborhood.
I just read last week, sales are down and prices are up.
Sales, there is major supply issues that are going on in the program right now, and that has happened since the supply is getting better. The prices are not getting improving. They have not had the new licensees come to market as quickly as they had hoped. So there are dispensaries open and have been, cultivators. So because of that, there is less product to go around to all of the dispensaries. So the price goes up at each one of them. It's pure supply and demand right now. It's just a matter of getting some of the growers up and running. In the next year and a half, you'll see that go. But because of that, you see people going and finding product elsewhere and the market dipping. But it is typical to see after December, a January lull, just like it is in regular retail markets and everything too. Everybody spent all their money through Christmas.
Stocking stuffers.
So,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
exactly.
yeah.
Different. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank
For the latecomers that have come into the auditorium, we're conducting the public hearing on agenda item C, which is the retail sales of cannabis. And if you did want to speak, sir, just sign in for us, please.
I knew the sheet was up.
Yeah, that's okay. And just to give a heads up, anyone participating remotely, whether or not you're an elected official or not, or a member of the public, if you also want to make a comment to the commission on this topic, you can either raise your hand on Zoom or dial *9 to be identified. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have,
Do you want me to say
Steve
it?
Gorelnick.
Correct.
Yeah, just say your name and your
Stephen
address.
Gorelnick at 47 Mustang Drive.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So the gentleman before me was very informative. He talked about how the money can be used. Most importantly, you were aiming in the direction of addiction, things like that. Those programs could even go to seniors who have addiction problems in the city or anything like that. They could be funds that could be funneled to the police department, that they could work with drug addiction and things like that, which would be very helpful. They could also go to programs, and I don't know how far they go out, to like maybe social work or something dealing with addiction or anything along that line. So this money could be funneled to appropriate sources that the city could use without thinking narrowly of how you're going to use the money and is it only going there. The thing that I am most interested, which I was going to lead with, is being that the Mayor already has mentioned we're going to have a tax increase. I think it's important that we should look at other revenue sources, whether it's, doing whatever there's going to be bonding, it's going to come up and things like that. But it's important that we don't lose out on a revenue source that's happening all around us. And that's important. And I think the residents of Shelton, the citizens of Shelton might be interested in knowing, that this is a source of income to help the city out. So it's not, it's not a narrow thing of what people it's going to be bringing in or the people using the drugs or anything like that. It's well regulated, as the gentleman before said, and it shouldn't be narrowly thought about, especially in the time when the mayor's going to be raising taxes. So I just thought it, not to say no, like what you did last year, just think through. And he brought up a wonderful point about it's like any other business. You were talking about, well, who could fund it? Yeah, banks might not be able, but it's no different than any chain that comes into Shelton. They're managed by local managers, but they're run by a larger franchise or whatever. So, and that's the way these businesses, and we shouldn't discriminate against a certain business because Shelton allows a variety of businesses in Shelton, whether it be retail or manufacturing, and we just shouldn't be discriminating at any revenue source coming in. I just would like to say that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, final call for anybody here in the auditorium. Right, Mr. Rossetti, is there anyone participating remotely that has indicated they wanted to address the commission? That is a elected official in the city? Okay, is there any member of the public who has indicated they would like to address the commission on this topic? Okay, last call for any elected official or any member of the public. If you would like to address the commission, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on the phone. All right, so how would you, the commission, like to proceed? Would you like to continue or close the public hearing? Okay, all right.
Why not? Doesn't seem to be a huge outcry from the public.
All right,
Either
so
way.
Commissioner Kelly, are you making a motion to close?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
I'm not sure if everyone saw the comments online. There were some letters posted online.
Mhm. Yeah.
Also-
That's what I had asked, if
Yeah,
there was
yes.
anything.
Okay.
Okay, so. All right, so Commissioner Kelly is making a motion to close the public hearing, and did I hear Commissioner Perkins seconding?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so on the motion to close the public hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone voting nay? All right, let the record show that the vote was 6-0 to close the public hearing with no commissioner voting nay or abstaining. So we're opening this now for discussion, and I'll be happy to start. I appreciate all the members of the public that have come out this evening or have submitted letters. And I appreciate Alderman McPherson coming out to address the commission. as an elected official on his behalf, on the behalf of Alderman Anglace and Alderman Balmacy. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see the benefit of having a retail cannabis operation here in the city of Shelton as a permitted use. We have had better proposals come before us, and we could expect to continue to do so in the future. In addition, there are retail sites that already exist or are planning to open in nearby communities. And finally, in that March 11th, 2024 Connecticut Post article that Commissioner Parkins referred to, the writer states that total sales of cannabis in Connecticut continued to decrease, with a $2.6 million decrease in total cannabis sales in February from January, and January sales were down the same amount from December. And I do understand the law of supply and demand, but I don't see that as being pretty applicable in this case. That's what I have to say. What do other members of the commission have to say about the proposal?
I'm not opposed or for it particularly,
Mhm.
kind of neutral on it, but I did do a quick little calculation here based on the idea of $10 million a year per
Mhm.
dispensary, and that comes out to a whopping 300,000 a year
Mhm.
on that 3%.
Well,
Is not so great.
no,
amount.
which is true, but it
Yeah.
has to go to a certain
Well, I think those
area.
are,
Which is a good cost.
Which I think
It's a
are
good
good
cost,
things.
It is a good
but it's
cost,
not
but
going
it doesn't
into
go
the
to general fund.
To
Right.
help offset taxes. So.
but it's not a very large amount
No.
either, I
Mhm.
would say. I don't know.
Anything else, Commissioner Motto?
No, like I
Okay.
said, if y'all thought it was great, I'd be okay with it.
Mhm.
Well, they keep, Commissioner Kelly, they keep adding on different towns close to us, like Stratford already has one, now it's gonna have two. So on and so forth. So I just don't feel we should get it.
Stratford's gonna have two.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
just don't feel we should get in the game.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a lot of fear sometimes used around this, like we've seen with other issues. It's, I think it's the law of the land, and what we're taking up is just the retail sales. And as was mentioned, it is a challenge to open up one of these businesses. You do need a lot of capital and backing to do it, and it's not going to be willy-nilly. It's a highly regulated industry now. There's no smoking on site. I think, again, there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of fear that's used sometimes with this, but this is a retail site that we would be able to work together. The reason why we did the moratorium in the first place was to see what other towns did, see what regulations shake out, see what works. There's a way to do it where we could define what zones it would fall into or what particular areas. There's limits as to how many you could have in the town, 1 or 2 even. Like any other business that we take up, we would take a look at the hours of operation. So I think there's a lot of control that can be put into this regulated use. As far as I can see on a quick search, Milford, Stratford, Ansonia, Derby, I think Seymour all passed it. And as was mentioned, it is a 3% in tax. The whole cannabis, as I understand, is taxed 20%. Some of that goes to the state and so forth, but the town does get 3%. But whether it's for anti-drug use or other abuses or education, money is money. So if there's already funds going to that for the town purposes, it's still additional funds that the town wasn't already counting on. And if demand is down, we're not approving any more coffee shops if people are drinking less coffee, or we're not approving any less bars if people are drinking less. So I view it as it's the law of the land. We can regulate it well, chooses where it should go. And we get to say pretty much everything about it in terms of how many we even want in town. There could be just for one. So just on principle, I would be for a highly regulated cannabis use retail sales.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ziggy.
Well, isn't there a restriction on how many you can have by square area or population?
Like bars, right?
Yeah.
And we're at the max for bars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not bars, liquor stores.
Liquor stores.
Yeah,
They-
there's
a lot of
no,
bars
there's
too.
no limit on
We
bars.
have now that would really
That's
send
a-
the public out.
It sure would.
We have a
Free
limit on liquor
enterprise.
stores.
Yeah,
Which we're at the
right.
max.
We're at the max right now.
It's much more restricted with cannabis. My feeling is, when we first opened this a year ago, and I'm sort of like Commissioner Motto, that I'm neutral to it, but I'm just, the more I'm reading about how the state has slipped up in some cases, that the prices are going down, or prices are going up, sales are going down. I just, and I have no proof of any correlation, but I started thinking, why all of a sudden, when the state legalized it, do we start getting an influx of smoke shops?
Mhm.
You know, I just found it very strange that we've got a smoke shop almost, on every corner now. It's crazy how they're all popping up. And I don't know if there's any proof that there's a correlation between, well, maybe they think they can kind of sell it under the corner, which we've actually had some busts
Had a
of
few
them
of them.
doing just that.
Mhm.
And I just, at this point, again, I still remain neutral, but at this point, I think I would have to vote to not permit it.
Mhm.
Until it, again, you can go right down to Oronoque or right across the bridge to Derby, and for the amount of money they're getting, I'm not really jealous. So
Okay.
that's how I feel.
All right, Commissioner Lascos, last call.
Okay, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Ticky and Commissioner Motto. I do view it as a liquor store, package store concept. When the initial licensings came out, it was retail, there was manufacturing, and there was growing. Are we addressing all three right now? You put retail, Mr. Essenter was talking about some of the manufacturing. But I am not opposed to a retail facility. And, as he laid out, I wouldn't be opposed to a manufacturing facility also.
Talking manufacturing, talking harvesting.
Yeah, but that's not,
Processing.
that's not what the moratorium
Yeah,
is.
But that's what I'm
It's
just,
just.
Okay.
I know retail, but, as we were hearing in the public portion, the manufacturing would be somebody processing, somebody who's making, yeah, so, but, I don't see it as a big taboo as, maybe people were referring to it in the 60s and 70s or even earlier in the 50s. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's my stance on it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, well, as it appears the commission is here to move forward on this regulation, I'd like to recognize Attorney Teodoso, who has a regulation prepared.
Well,
A resolution.
how are we?
I'm sorry, not a
What's the
regulation, a resolution.
We have a resolution.
We don't.
Well, because it's
Because-
based on what the
The
public hearing as it was announced.
Right, but
Yeah.
we didn't,
We don't vote on it.
but
To,
we didn't,
no, we haven't voted on it. That would be the next step.
Okay.
oh.
So Attorney Te, like we've had in the past,
Yep,
Attorney
yep,
Teodoso would
okay.
present a resolution, and then we would
Vote.
take a vote on,
The hearing is to prohibit,
right,
so.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I'm more used to a resolution being decided as to which way we're going. before it's
favorable-
That's a
prepared.
consensus.
yeah,
Yeah,
Made
that's
up,
a
yeah.
consensus. Well, I guess you can come to a consensus and then have.
exactly. It sounds like we have a consensus, so vote on that resolution based on,
But do we have a consensus?
I sort of heard a 3-3
Yeah,
split.
that's kind of
So-
not a consensus.
Well, actually, it's not quite 3-3, so.
It's 3, maybe 3,
Two
4,
and a half,
maybe,
4.
2.5, yeah, 4-2. Yeah, so,
Well,
but, I don't think want to be put in a position where the, moratorium is expires and there's an automatic.
Sounds like we could be 3-3.
Yeah, there's an automatic, release on that regulation, on that moratorium.
But we knew that this deadline was coming, so, we also want to do it right. I mean, the last time that we took up the moratorium was also because we felt pressed against the clock, and so we just continued it. So now here we are again. So we'll hear the resolution and then we'll vote on the resolution, but
Mhm.
I believe it goes until March 31st, is that right?
That is
Which
correct.
is Easter Sunday, Friday is a state holiday, so then we have one business day if we wanted to figure out regulations to make this work. So, we need to, if we know that this deadline is coming and we don't know that that people, that the majority is in favor of a ban.
Actually,
Just like the budget.
Friday is not a state holiday, but
Good Friday's a
Right.
state holiday.
Um,
It's not a federal holiday, but it's a state holiday.
Yeah,
I don't think we have to go forward based on comments
Just like the
tonight as
budget.
to whether or not we need to discuss this anymore. I think you've all stated your case and,
Well, we can hear the resolution.
yeah,
from
you
there.
could hear the resolution. If you want to vote in favor of it, you vote in favor. If you
well,
don't.
I have a question
Sure.
before the resolution is read.
Mhm.
Can we always revisit it later on?
Absolutely. Any zoning regulation can be changed later
Okay.
on at any point in time. The commission has to decide that a regulation has to be changed and a public hearing held,
Okay.
just like we're
Okay,
doing tonight.
great.
All right, so can I ask Attorney Tedosco just to comment on that last question by Commissioner Kelly before we go any further? The question was, can a regulation be changed
Yeah, can we
at some point?
review it later on if we feel that there should be a different opinion?
Yeah, can you hear me, first of all? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Your chairman is correct. This is, what you're doing this evening is deciding whether or not you're going to amend your zoning regulations. And you can amend your zoning regulations after a public hearing on any topic that you can legally consider at any time. This is a topic that you can legally consider, again, if you have a change of position with regard to the majority of the board, whether it be for or against, or you want to come in and fine tune it. You can do that. It's a change in a zoning regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody clear? Anybody have any questions for Attorney Tedosco? Okay, so Attorney Tedosco, do you want to present the motion?
Okay, I have drafted a motion to prohibit cannabis establishments. And it reads as follows. Pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes, including but not limited to 21A-142FB1, move that the Shelton zoning regulations at section 23.2.4 be amended to prohibit cannabis establishments as defined in section 5.40 of the Shelton zoning regulations within all zones in the city of Shelton.
All right, so there is the 23.2.4. Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
I just want to point out to the board, you should make sure that that is the section that you want to amend. There seems to be two different sets of text out there. One is 23.4 and the other ends in 5. Just make sure that you're amending the right one.
Madam Chair, I believe we were amending 0.5.
do you, Mr. Rossetti, can you pull up the red, please? We'll give Mr. Rossetti a chance to do that. And, yeah, but that's.
Standard 23.4. 23.4. 23.2.3. And then there is none. Then they're going to this. What you can, what you can't. And then it goes to 25. 24. Yeah.
What's the date of your book?
Well,
It's on the front page.
it's gonna be a little.
It's on the front page.
on the front cover.
Might be original.
Hey, watch it.
That could be worth money.
You know what? $1977.
I think there's been some nineteen
No, no,
seventy-seven.
no, 2013,
Yeah, I can say.
2013. But that hasn't been changed in our, recodified.
Well, that's what we're supposed to be working on for the April
I'm-
10th.
I'm not sure if Mr. Rossetti's gonna be able to pull it up. When this was amended in 2014, it was not added into our recodified version in 2016.
Hold on, Ms. Castro, it's on the screen and it says 23.2.4, and he's highlighting
This is for the moratorium.
for the moratorium. So is there a 23.2.5 after that? Okay,
No.
There is not. When we researched this last week, we found the approved amendment to 23.2.4, which should have read for the medical use of cannabis.
Okay.
So we should be amending 23.2.5.
What?
There is no 5.
there is no
There's
five.
no 23.25.
If I could pull up the email from 2000 that references the minutes from 2014. The regulation should have shown, and this was an error that I caught with our chairwoman, I believe, last week.
Yeah, and I forwarded some information that I sent
Oh.
to Alex
Okay.
a couple years ago.
Oh,
It's always.
Give me-
for
Give me a
medical,
moment while I load.
legal back then for recreational use.
not at all.
This was at the time when the state had only approved medical use.
Right. But that's why we amended.
Yes,
Oh,
but it did not make the recodified version in 2016. It was not included in the recodified version in 2016.
that version.
Oh.
It was, yeah, that was, so it's the, that we worked on. That came before the commission. Something coming up on the screen?
I'm trying to load here.
So question, so if we
Mhm.
allowed it, it's a little unlikely right now, but if we allowed it, this would not, we'd still have to go back and then discuss where it could be, where they could be.
Yeah,
That
we
would be a
have to
separate
put regulations.
process.
That would be
Right.
definitely, so,
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's,
opening up,
no.
okay.
And then there's, the state restrictions on it.
On where, like
Can't be like
schools and.
Yeah,
stuff,
right,
Yeah,
exactly. So many feet away. Like a liquor store.
yeah.
any luck, Ms. Castro?
I apologize. We emailed each other a lot. I'm going in 1 second.
That's what you're trying to find, is that email?
Yes, it had the minutes and the motion included in it, and that's the best to reference. I'm sorry, I didn't have this prepared. I have it up. Look, I'm just finding the page.
Sure.
Twenty-three -2 -5. I don't remember. Nothing she mentioned them.
Yeah, like a lot of people have to.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
I just actually saw a new dispensary up on Route 8 in, right in Otis. It just opened Himalaya High.
By where?
Right, you know, when you.
Oh,
take
in
Route 8
Otis,
up to
Mass.
Massachusetts
Okay.
And you come down to that section where you
Yeah.
have to turn on to 20,
Oh, yeah,
right there.
really?
Yeah. I just noticed it yesterday on my way back from Albany. It's nice.
That's a mess.
So this-
Yes. Yeah, it's only 2 cars there. Went by it all.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, it's real spot, you know, a lot of traffic on Route 8.
Anybody. And by
Mm-hmm.
over the nation.
Okay, so these are minutes from August of 2013, where it references 23.2.4.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in regards to the medical use for cannabis. This was for the moratorium. We then made it a prohibited use officially in June of 2014.
Okay, so medical is referring to 23.2.4.
Correct.
What's the next one? No.
So the recreational use should be listed as 23.2.5.
Okay. Did you?
When was that voted on?
It wasn't.
This was, we had the moratorium.
Because this was not included in the 2016 version of our regulations that are printed, it was overlooked on the number.
Okay, did you?
It was approved and voted on by the commission in 2014. And as an oversight of it not being in the regulation, we gave recreational of 2.4. That's an error because it was already being used.
All right, and
And that was the dispensaries.
2.5 reads what, Ms. Castro?
2014.
2.5, what Mr. Rossetti brought up in the red, which is
I have it. Read the regulation that's on the screen. It's hard to read. See here, okay. Prohibited by adding a paragraph. There, went up, go back to where it was.
Sure, perfect.
Yeah. It's not on the screen.
This is the vote. This minute does not have the resolution or motion attached to it, so I can't reference the exact verbiage that you used. I only have the resolution from 2013 where it called a 9-month moratorium.
Go back to the minutes that you had and go up a page. Keep going. All right, keep going. All right, right there, proposal of Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission amending section 23 permitted uses, subsection 23.2 prohibited uses by adding a new paragraph prohibiting medical marijuana dispensaries and production facilities. So Attorney Tito, so is this a duplicate of what was done in 2013, or this is a new regulation? Is 23.2.5 taken, or
You replace,
you replace 4 with this that's on the screen?
Correct.
Okay, so 23.2.5 does not exist.
Correct.
Okay, so as it shows on the agenda, this is amending paragraph 23.2.5, which is the next open regulation. Okay, is that correct, Ms. Castro?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
aren't you eliminating 23.2.4?
No,
Replacing it with the resolution that Attorney Theodosio is presenting tonight.
Cannabis has two different uses. There's the medical use and there's the recreational use. The commission 10 years ago already voted to prohibit the medical use, and today we're discussing recreational use. So 22, now I'm confused on my numbers. 0.4 should read for medical use and 0.5 should read for recreational. They're two different uses.
Well, do we really care because we're not allowing any of them?
Yeah,
If
it
you
is.
want to change it as a whole, that's a different discussion.
But we also have a regulation.
I think that Tony has a good idea. We'll just drop the reference to the number. Let the planning and zoning staff figure out how the prohibited use is listed. Because you have literally three different provisions here. You have 23.4 that was the provision for the temporary moratorium. You have 23.4 that seems to be what is going to replace that and what I read the resolution for. And you have an indication from staff that 23.2.4 may also be the medical marijuana. So let's just pass the resolution that says that everything is prohibited and they can fix it with regard to their publications.
I agree.
Because they know that they have to take out the temporary moratorium and they know that they have the action of the commission, if you vote it, that all is not allowed in the city of Shelton.
Okay, so we would be in compliance with taking that approach.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so Attorney Theodoso, could you read that motion again? And how do you want to change any of the verbiage in it? With
All right, I'll read it slowly.
Okay.
Pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes, including but not limited to Section 21A-142FB1, move that the Shelton zoning regulations be amended to prohibit cannabis establishments as defined in Section 5.40 of the Shelton zoning regulations within all zones in the city of Shelton. So
right, so-
essentially, what you see on the screen is what I read, except I dropped the allusion to Section 23.2.4.
All right. So it goes from move that the Shelton zoning regulations be amended to prohibit.
Correct,
cannabis
correct,
establishments.
right.
All right. So can we first have a motion to move the resolution for discussion? That's the procedure that we always follow.
I'll make that motion too.
Okay, so you're
For
making a
discussion.
motion to move for the resolution for discussion. Is there a second?
Until second.
Okay. And so all in favor of moving the resolution for discussion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show that the vote was 6-0 to move the resolution for discussion with no commissioner voting nay or abstaining. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, now you have the opportunity to discuss again.
Well, now I have another technical question.
Okay.
So if we do it as stated, well, how does that, let's say we don't agree, but
Mhm.
some of us don't. How would that affect the medical marijuana dispensaries?
That's separate.
Well, it is
So-
separate in that resolution.
It's in the
He's making-
resolution.
Putting them all together.
We don't allow those to begin with. We
Right.
don't allow those already. There's already a prohibition against medical dispensaries.
Okay, but this,
This is
Okay.
This is about recreational.
it doesn't say that.
to
exactly,
prohibit
but okay.
retail cannabis establishments. Attorney Theodoso, should that amendment, that motion, well, that motion be amended to specify retail cannabis
Recreational.
or recreational?
Retail.
You have a definition that it makes reference to. You should look at your definition first.
Dallas, can you pull up the definition? 5.4.
Mhm.
I'd forgotten that we had
Mm-hmm.
done that. I was just remembering the cultivation.
Mhm.
I know. There's a lot going on back then.
I wasn't on it, so.
All right, so Mr. Rossetti is looking for section 5.4 of the zoning regs for the definition. Do you have some here? Use for section 5.4 definitions. No, way in the beginning is definitions.
Right here.
All right, what's the next step?
Uses.
What? What's, let me see that.
It
Bring mine
says.
tonight.
Yeah, It's
That was added in.
gotta be a different.
Well, it shouldn't have.
Yeah,
should
this is
change the
old.
number afterward.
It's in alphabetical order.
Nobody gave it to me.
No. No, cannabis
You
is
just got handed somebody's old book.
Roger.
Okay, hold on.
Isn't there a search function online?
Yeah, takes a
No,
while.
The website on phones does not function well.
Yeah, you can go to that. See. Does she? No, it's 5.5. We don't have
You don't have that in there. That's out of date.
5.7. It's not 5.
What's that? Section 5 is the overall definition section of the regulations.
5.7
All right, so 5.7 was,
cannabis
is already in there,
It's already there.
which,
I'm saying it's 5.2. It's not.
well, it's not. So,
Okay.
so a producer, dispensary, facility, cultivator, micro cultivator, retailer. You move can you move the faces so we can get that whole, slide it down?
Or just slide it down.
Yeah.
Slide the page down.
Would it freeze on you? Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, micro cultivator, retailer, so it's in there. Hybrid retailer,
Hybrid retailer.
food and beverage manufacturer, product manufacturer, product package and delivery service. But does not include a dispensary facility as provided in section 21A.408-1 of the regulations. So are we, what's the situation, Attorney Tito? So
I think that what you should do is pass the regulation as I read it and leave the section that bars the medical marijuana in your regulations, just to be safe. Let your planning commission or your planning staff renumber. Seems to be an issue with the numbering on a number of fronts. Definitions as well as prohibited uses.
okay. All right, does everybody have any further discussion on this?
I would just say the medical marijuana piece we took up about 10 or so years ago, that is separate from what the issue tonight, which is really it's retail sales. We're talking about the
Correct.
retail
Mhm.
establishment, so people aren't smoking it on site. I think some called it recreational, but it's the retail sales of it. What was read by the attorney, I just want to know, is indefinite. In the past, the moratoriums have been up to a certain amount because we've said that we wanted to review it to then maybe consider future regulations. So this is an indefinite text change and regulation that we are voting on.
Until the point that if the commission wants to reconsider the, what would have been changed, we can take any single one of these regulations in the zoning regulations and bring it up to everyone's attention and schedule a public hearing. So this is nothing is in infinity.
When we have moratoriums though that are, 9 months, 12 months, it at least forces our hand to know it needs to come back around to get on the agenda so we can discuss it. So given how busy we are moving on a text change that is there until the commission wishes to bring it back up.
Right. Yeah, and anyone can propose it. And if the commission so desires to, it can go forward like all the other zoning regulation changes that we have done over the years. Is that correct, Attorney Tedioso?
Yes, and even members of the public can come forward with a proposed zone change, just as you have proposals come to you for other items from the public.
That's a good point. Yeah, so it doesn't always have to come from us, but as Attorney Tedioso mentioned, there have been times where there's someone that had come, yeah, they want to change to have something now be a permitted use in some areas or not. So,
We tried to avoid approving such things for a particular applicant.
exactly. Okay, so you've had the motion to move the resolution for discussion. There isn't any further discussion. Is there a motion on the motion to prohibit cannabis establishments?
To vote.
Yeah, to actually vote.
I'll make that motion
What's the entire motion?
to approve our motion that we're
To
doing.
approve the prohibition of
Approve
retail
or not.
cannabis,
Right.
Right, to vote on that resolution.
Right.
Yea or
to
nay.
approve the,
Motion is
The
to approve the
resolution.
motion
Approve
to
the
prohibit
resolution.
cannabis as establishments, okay?
so if you vote aye, you're voting for the
Or-
prohibition.
Yeah, all right, let's get a second on that motion.
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Okay, so on the motion to approve, the motion read by Attorney Tedioso to prohibit cannabis establishments as defined in the motion. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Kelly? Aye. Okay, so it's an aye to prohibit.
Prohibit, right.
Okay, Commissioner Parkins?
Aye to prohibit.
Okay. Commissioner Laskos?
Nay.
Nay to allow. Okay. Okay, and Commissioner Motto?
Nay.
Nay to allow. Commissioner Tiki?
Nay,
Nay to allow.
with regulations.
And the chair votes A to approve the motion. Okay, and the vote is 3-3. The motion has failed to pass. Anything, and Attorney Tedioso, what would be the effective date of the motion? Today?
April 1st.
Okay. Okay, very good. Is there anything further, Attorney Tedioso, with this?
If you're satisfied with your vote, then we're done.
Well, we can't revote, right? So we're done. Okay, so I'll let the record show that the vote was 3-3. The motion has failed to pass. Okay, so we're gonna move on to, thank you, Attorney Tedioso, for attending this evening. And we are moving along to public hearing, agenda item A, application 23.29, PDD number 100, Dominic Thomas for 6 Todd Road LLC at Assessors map 77, lot 25 for major modification to PDD, amendment to statement of uses and standards, and what is IDCP?
Initial concept,
Oh,
initial development concept.
Initial development concept plans and final site development plans, reducing a 10,170 square foot retail building to a 3,690 square foot restaurant with drive-through. And let me just, that's my notes. This application was accepted for review on December 20th, 2023, and the public hearing opened on February 21st. Documents posted for review on the city's website that were available for the opening of the public hearing on February 21st include an amended application for a PDD zone change, an initial development concept plan, site plans, photometric plan, architectural elevation and floor plan, traffic study narrative, roadway and traffic improvements, stormwater drainage report, sign posting photos and certificates of mailing. Since February 21st, 4 other documents were posted to the city's website, including a diagram showing how cars would be stacked through the drive-through lanes, revised elevations, the city engineer's review, and a letter from a city resident. Mr. Rossetti, any other correspondence received within the time period for the proposal but not yet posted to the city's website that we need to acknowledge for the record?
It looks like one thing was posted this evening.
Well, there was stuff posted yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I read,
No, yes,
wasn't it?
the response, yesterday was the response to the engineer's report
Mhm.
from, and a amended set of
Okay,
plans to address the engineer's report. Today, what was uploaded for this was simply the first page of the stacking exhibit, but with notes on it. It had notations on it to assist in David Sullivan's presentation, and I also brought a large, for when David Sullivan's presenting on that, I brought
Mhm.
extra copies of that. But yesterday was the response to the SLR, Todd Ritchie, who was supposed to be, he's one person that has to be admitted along with Dave Sullivan, Eric Wagner, Colleen Hazelton, and the one that's Dan Guest and Eric Wagner, all part of the McDonald's presentation.
okay, so Attorney Thomas, could you identify for yourself for the record,
Correct.
please?
Thank you. Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen & Thomas, 315 Main Street, Durban, Connecticut, representing the applicant. Suppose there's no issue if I sit, short enough as it is, but it's easier to let your computer. It's, thank you very much. Yes, those are the, I will state, for the record, and it's a benefit that things get put on the drive and you have to constantly look, and we did see that the engineer's report was posted last week, Wednesday, I believe, was posted on the website. So we immediately gave it, as soon as I discovered it, which was on Friday, actually late Friday. There is one other document that is related to this, because I had a conversation with the city engineer directly over the issue of the stacking as to whether or not he, I asked him if he replied to planning and zoning on the questions that they had asked him, and he did. And he did in the virtue of an email. I don't know, Alex, is that email going to be uploaded, or I made copies of it because it addressed that issue, but I get to it when we get to the stacking point. So one of the things that it appeared, and it will appear from the report that Todd Ritchie did in response to the engineering report, is that the engineer had not reviewed a couple of things that were uploaded earlier. He appeared not to have reviewed the drainage report, but we're not sure about that. So that was addressed thoroughly in the report, and I'll have Todd Ritchie go through it. But the other items that he pointed out that needed to be addressed were addressed, and they were addressed. And when I say revised site plans, as you will see from Todd Ritchie, the revisions were minimalistic. Then we will address the exhibit and with the more elaborate photograph, which addresses the issue of the stacking that was questioned. We also received input from McDonald's on their information, information that they have complied, over the years for stacking, and explaining the impacts and the differences between a single ordering lane and a double ordering lane, and why the double ordering lanes and the extra windows are a benefit and reduce the stacking. And and that will be addressed by David Sullivan. And then finally, Colleen Hazelton from McDonald's will address, based on the comments of the commission, the revised elevations that we submitted, which lightened the colors. That there were some indications. Again, McDonald's remains flexible and to whatever one of the color versions that was presented. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Todd Ritchie to address his responses to the engineering report and the what changes were made in the site plan as a result of the engineering report.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Todd Ritchie, professional engineer with SLR, responsible for the site design and site plans for this application. As Attorney Thomas mentioned, we did receive early this week responses from Mr. Remus Balsas, the city engineer, or a comment letter from him that was sent to Mr. Rossetti. And we did respond to those comments. And as Mr. Thomas said, it did appear that some of the comments that were included in that were based on information that either wasn't received or reviewed by Mr. Balsas, but nonetheless, we did respond as soon as we could, which was our letter dated March 26, 2024. So yesterday it was completed and submitted. And I can just kind of run through real quick what those comments were. There weren't that many. One of them was stated that non-residential construction is required to retain the first 2 inches of rainfall on site through the use of infiltrators, and that none were noted on the plans. We reviewed the city's ordinance 854 stormwater management operation maintenance requirements and the city of Shelton zoning regulations, and we didn't locate the requirement to retain the first 2 inches of rainfall on a non-residential site. We did treat for the water quality flow rate as defined in the current 2004 Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Stormwater Quality Manual, which treats the entire water quality volume. The proposed hydrodynamic separator stormwater treatment unit is adequately sized to treat the required water quality flow for the site. And furthermore, in our hydrologic analysis, there will be an overall reduction in impervious area on the site, resulting in reductions in the peak rates of runoff from the site. So that was all included in our drainage memorandum that we submitted, that was dated November 15th, 2023. There was also a comment. Sure, go ahead, Attorney Thomas.
Easier if his response was up on the screen
Definitely.
that he's reading from. Todd, do you want to screen share your response?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I was multitasking and I didn't realize that that wasn't on the screen here. Happy to share that. Everybody see this right here? Can you see it?
You can blow it up a little bit.
Oh, sure. Let me see if I can resize this. Yeah, like this. How about that? Is that better? A little more? Is that good? All right. That's about the largest I can do. The next comment was that all catch basins to have 4-foot sumps. We did revise the details for the catch basins to have the 4-foot sumps as included in the revised site plans dated March 26, 2024 that were submitted along with this letter. Mentioned rotating the building 180 degrees in conjunction with making access off of Todd Road as the main entrance. We of course have discussed that in amongst our presentation here at the last public hearing, but also as a part of the design team, rotating the building is not considered to be an option since the on-site traffic patterns and vehicle stacking is optimized by the proposed building orientation. He requested that sightlines be added to the plans, which we did add to the revised plans. So the sightlines are included in the enclosed revised plans that were also dated March 26, 2024. Driveway opening dimensions were noted as being missing. The overall dimensions were missing, although we did show the lane dimensions. So we added those overall dimensions for all of the entrances, including the entrance radii in the revised site plans, again, dated March 26, 2024. Noted that the calculations for the stormwater retention must be provided. Design calculations for the contact treatment unit, which is the CDS unit, must be provided as well. Again, retention, no retention is proposed because no retention is required, or detention for that matter. We are reducing the overall impervious area, by which we will be decreasing the peak runoff rates discharged from the property. We did include calculations for the CDS unit, the contact unit, in our November 15th, 2023 stormwater memorandum as an attachment to that memo. He asked for a catch basin silt sacks to be included in all catch basins from the site to Bridgeport Ave on Platte Road. There were two additional catch basins that we included the silt sacks on that were closer to the intersection with Bridgeport Ave on Platte Road. And then he noted that offsite improvements on Platte Road appeared to have been proposed, but no plans submitted. Again, those plans, as you know, were submitted, and we believe that he just never received them or didn't have the proper information. So that's the conclusion of what we provided, and along with enclosures noted as being site plans revised March 26, 2024. The preliminary roadway plans that were dated October 2023, and the drainage memorandum that was dated November 15th, 2023. Happy to, again, nothing major on the site itself. I can go to, let me get out of this window that I'm trapped in, sorry. If I can. Happy to, show you that I'll just point out for the record, the added sight lines, which are here, that show adequate site distances at both of these driveway entrances, which were existing locations of driveway entrances to this property, to be noted. So those are added. The overall dimensions here for the driveway entrances, in addition to the additional catch basin inserts that were requested here. And I believe, and then on the catch basins, so let me get to it here. One more. The 48-inch or 4-foot required minimum sump depth below the invert of the pipe for each catch basin. That's all I have.
You very quickly went by a slide that had the golden arches. Can you go back to that slide?
Sure.
Is that a signage? This is the signage plan?
No, I have the signage plan. I'll be submitting it here to sign.
How is that going to be used?
There are signs on the building
Mhm.
that we have in the elevations,
Yeah,
but the remaining signs on the site. With a sign package, we're waiting for this action to take place, and then we're going to.
I know it's not customary that we ask for a sign plan, but because this is such a commercial operation there, I'd really like to see what they're proposing for signage as part of this whole application that is going to be approved. Because you're going to come back in, this will be, if this gets approved, say theoretically it gets approved, then they'll come in with the sign package and say, well, this is our logo, this is what we do, and we're going to have very little to say on that part, so.
It's not what was explained to the client. What was explained to the client that this is a PDD. So you have certain restrictions and that they do that. I'm not sure.
Dominic, you argue an awful lot on signs, so.
I do.
I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from.
Again, I don't think it should delay, hopefully if you take action on it, but I'm not even sure what that is or what that's reflective of.
Well, I watched the public hearing last night, just for the record, I did watch the public hearing last night. And when I saw this quickly go by, I'm like, they didn't talk about signage at the public hearing,
Well,
so that's why I
Other than the
asked.
signed on the bill.
Okay.
That we showed in the
Right,
elevation.
right, just the golden arches.
Elevations on.
Yeah.
on
Okay,
the,
I just want to make sure there's no like monument so you can see it from Route 8. Because that will be a hard
There will
no.
be some monument sign, whether or not it can be seen from Route 8 is another issue.
Mhm. So you are going on the record that everything that would be considered a sign is gonna come into us separately.
Right now, I have, the package I have includes, and I'm not trying to do it, they're message boards.
Mhm.
What I mean, you know, when they,
Yeah,
the
right.
message
Drive
boards,
through.
the
You're talking about
directional
the
signs.
men, yeah, the menu.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not message.
Okay.
boards.
The menu,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna say, what are
we
they?
know.
Yeah, the menu.
Turn me from the dial.
Menu, which, I did check and it does not include any cannabis burgers yet. They haven't. So but yes, I have a sign package that includes all of those type of things, including directional signs, which I explained to them are, you know, those are normal
Because
directions.
we have asked for sign plans for PDDs
Mhm.
prior to approval of the
Sure, yeah.
PDD before, so it's not, my request is not totally. out
No,
of the norm.
I understood, and usually the sign plan that you're asking for is for a multi, as with Fountain Square, you're asking.
Occupancy, yeah.
I'm just a little concerned that you seem to be so hesitant to bring it forward prior to any decision on the application.
It's going to have the McDonald's sign, but they have limitations, as I've explained to them in your PDD, for size, shape, whether or not I've explained to them that the monument sign usually needs to be reflective
Mhm.
somewhat of the architecture. So I've explained to them all the various requirements that are involved. I just, and I'd be glad to incorporate it. I'm gonna be very honest with you, there are time constraints. You know, we did have the signage on the building, you did have that throughout all of our application. But there are some time constraints with respect to the contractual obligations, so I was trying to, you know, do that, but if you would want, we could certainly, between now and your regular meeting, you know what I mean?
I'll
At that
defer
point.
to the rest of the commissioners.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
again,
which way the application itself is gonna go, but I'll defer to other commissioners as to whether they'd like to see some signage.
I'd like to see some direction, idea of what direction we're going in.
Handle it in the sign committee and then.
Yeah,
all meeting,
that's what I
right?
thought too,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's.
yeah, I mean, that was my intent.
Okay.
That was,
Well,
that was.
I'm not
that-
looking to delay
yeah.
any decision on the
Yeah.
project. I'm just saying
Yeah,
something is,
Yeah.
you know, I know they're gonna say that's, you know, we're a chain, this is national, this is what we do.
Mm.
We gotta do it. you
McDonald's
know?
has
Well, they
been
simmered
very,
it down. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
Yeah.
not.
yeah,
Quite
I
detailed.
just happened to go by a McDonald's today and, I happen, when I get involved in a zoning matter, I tend to, then my eyes tend to perk up as I drive by similar other ones, especially in dealing with your PDDs, and, many of them are different,
Mhm.
depending on where they're located.
right.
All right, so you have, your expert that talked about the city engineer's letter
Now
and,
it's
okay.
Mr. Sullivan,
okay,
and to elaborate, Dave Sullivan, this was, again, this is the first page of the exhibit that I
Mhm.
uploaded last week or a week or so ago, but now it has notations on it to make it easier to follow.
mhm.
All set?
Yes,
Okay. For the record, Dave Sullivan, professional engineer I'm with SLR. I'd like to share my screen.
Thank you.
And hopefully this will come up. There we go. Is that visible for everyone? I know you have the handouts as well.
yes, this is, they have the handout that's on the screen now.
Okay, so as Dominic mentioned, after the last hearing, we were tasked with looking at this a little harder, and we had come up initially with the drawing that was submitted, along with some narrative of some facts from McDonald's. So we put it all on the one drawing, and I'll just walk through it a little bit to give you a feel for what's being planned out here. First of all, you can see all of the cars that can be stacked up. There's a total of 22 cars we show, and in fact, you can get more on site, but 22 cars is the amount of cars that could be stored without impacting circulation, parking, or any other maneuver on site. And 22 is a very high number. To give you some perspective, Dunkin' Donuts used to be the queuing kings of fast food. Starbucks is running a close second these days, but the state would like us to have 14 stacking spaces for something of that nature. Anyway, we have 22 here. Some of the other things I point out is the side-by-side drive-through ordering, which has some efficiencies built in. The payment window is shown there. So there's 3 windows along the right side of the building. One is a payment window, 2 windows where you could pick up your food, and I have in quotes there the pull forward. So if somebody has a particularly long order, they won't be holding up the rest of the drive-through customers. So these are all the physical improvements to increase the efficiency of the drive-through. And the whole goal here is to make the amount of time you have to stop at the longest of all of these spots be the critical factor. So the more of these you have, the more you could dissect that full transaction. So,
Mr. Sullivan,
mhm.
it would be the 4th car that would be at that payment window, but they would still pull up to one of these other 2 windows to
Correct.
receive the product. And if the
Mhm.
product their order wasn't ready, where would those cars would just stay there?
Well, they could pull up, they would pull forward, so they would be instructed to pull forward, and they would go to the other window. What happens at a lot of these fast food restaurants that you've seen in the past, if you have an order where maybe something was wrong or it was a particularly long order, they always had a couple of spaces that said for drive-through customers. So they might say, oh, pull up over there and we'll bring your food out. And you would pull into one of the parking spaces, and then the employee would have to get the order, exit the building, walk through the parking lot over to the car, give them their food, and then go back in. So this is an opportunity.
Our plan, this does not have like 2 dedicated parking space for order pickup.
Alongside there could be, but
right
the
now.
pull forward eliminates a lot of the need for that.
Well, it depends on, well, how long the length of time is for the order. So, okay, why don't you continue?
Okay, so anyway, when you put these type of things in there, up in the upper left, to give you an idea of what this does to the full operation, if you have a single lane order board and which is your typical order board, you have the one, you pull up to the order, and sometimes you have a payment window, sometimes you have the pickup window, sometimes that's split. But in the normal circumstances, the typical single lane drive-through has a capacity of about 120 vehicles per hour. When you add the double menu board, the pull forward, and you're utilizing your payment window, you can increase that capacity to 150 to 180 cars per hour. So a significant increase in the service rate. And to give you some idea, the projections for this McDonald's, we expect that during the peak hours, whether it's lunchtime, dinner time, or Saturday midday, 50 to 75 drive-through transactions we expect as the peak once this is up and operating. There's a couple other opportunities that can be done. I don't really see the need here, and McDonald's doesn't see the need, but just to give you some ideas, you can introduce the digital app, which reduces time for both ordering and payment, because you could pay right on your app, and you don't have to go to the menu board. So you can go into the queue, order your food, pay for your food, and then you go right through. So that increases the efficiency for everybody, because you're not stopping to order and you're not stopping to pay. You're just going to pick up your food. And then there's handheld order taking. This is kind of an internal function, and it has some efficiencies for very, very busy times and operating conditions. And again, neither one of these are planned, but I point them out because they're opportunities to make it even more efficient than the 150 to the 180 car capacity. So in summary, we have a lot of storage here. Probably will never need that much storage. Maybe the first day, something like that, or the burn-in period. We have much more storage than would be needed. The capacity of the drive-through is significantly higher than the anticipated demands for
Mr.
drive-through.
Sullivan,
Yes.
would you mind just describing what handheld order taking is specifically?
I will give you kind of my version of it that could probably be described more by somebody from McDonald's, but the order takers and cashiers and some of the kitchen staff, it allows them to complete the orders during peak times, and they can move at a more rapid pace internally. So rather than having, you have that extra communication internally. And again, that may be something that McDonald's could, a representative could describe a little better. It was one of the things they had identified as other opportunities.
The handheld order taking, I think, is what you may have seen used at Chick-fil-A, where the employees go outside and
Right.
do things.
Right.
I do think, and there are McDonald's representatives, and I'm not going to do it. I do think McDonald's does have the digital app. And the digital app is similar to, you order online,
Right.
and when you get up to the
Get your name.
window, you just say your name and whatever, and
But you
You
still
just
gotta
sit
go
right
through
there.
the queue.
you still gotta go.
You
through
still
the
gotta
queue.
go behind everybody that's,
Well,
there's no like,
Yeah, and the McDonald's people here, one thing they explained is the 3-window setup that they have. Of course, that person doesn't have to sit at the first window, but the object is to use the other 2 windows to flow it. One thing I will point out for you, the entire packet of the 4-sheet packet that was uploaded to the website. The first page was the drawing. The second page was the verbiage of McDonald's input into it. The third and fourth page are aerial views of the 2 Derby McDonald's, and I put them in for a reason. Number one, the one on in front of Big Y off of Route 34 is a single lane one. It still has an abundance. There are times when the line misshapes itself, shall we say, but the way it can wrap around the store. And that's in a shopping center. The one that is very similar to this, and in all my experience, and I drive by it all the time and drive into it a couple times too, is the one on Division Street, which if you look at the picture, the layout is quite similar to this. And they have added, when they did their renovations, they added the double order. And it would be very easy if there was a problem there to back up into Division Street,
there's never-
because they really don't wrap around the front of that store in any fashion.
queuing's not the problem, it's getting out of there. That's.
Yeah.
Right, there's never a backup going in.
Yeah, there's never a backup going, but it is, you're right, the traffic in front of it.
Getting out. is,
If
yeah,
if you don't have a courteous
that'd be pretty
person
ideal.
coming down the other way.
Of course, that's stuff.
But anyway, again, there are people from McDonald's on here, and when we get to the elevations, they're gonna address, but either Colleen or Eric can easily answer your questions also.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Sullivan?
Not for me.
All right, any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Sullivan?
You don't think there's any issue with the driveways from Splash Car Wash being so close to the exit of this?
Exit onto Platte
Dave,
Road.
did you hear the question?
Was the question the Splash Car Wash location?
Yeah, because technically they have the right of way when they're taking a right up Splash Car Wash.
Mhm. Yeah, that's it's very typical when you have a number of curb cuts. You see it more on more developed areas where you would like, in a perfect world, to have all curb cuts lined up directly. But in this case, you have a curb cut on our side, on either side of the splash car wash. So there, you could offset it more from one and directly across the other. The volume of traffic from both of these will function fine. What we get mostly concerned with is left turns locking up. And what that means is if the offset is in a particular direction, then the left turns into McDonald's and the left turns into Splash couldn't take place at the same time. That's not the case here. There's adequate offset between the two. So they're clearly offset intersections as opposed to awkwardly offset where you think they're lined up, but they're offset enough where they affect operations. So the short answer is the driveway locations are fine, and we don't expect any operational conditions.
Okay, so the road improvements that you're proposing are further down past Todd Road, closer to Bridgeport Avenue. So there will not be more than one lane of traffic in front on Platt Road between Splash and this facility.
It's in an area where it's starting to widen, and it's starting to widen today, actually, a little bit. I'm going into the 2-lane section. So it'll be essentially the same. It's about the same width. Let me pull it up and you can see exactly where the widening. Let's see.
Just want to make sure that these cars that are exiting McDonald's go to the left would not be crossing over 3 lanes of traffic to be able to take a right onto Bridgeport Avenue. I know further down that they'll have that option to take a right.
So this shows you where the Splash car wash is, and where this light gray is where we're starting to do the sliver widening that's required here. So theoretically, that width may be getting a foot wider or something through there, but it's not. We're not creating another lane of traffic through there that doesn't already exist.
Until they get farther down.
Right.
Until they get farther down, right? So you're starting at 1, you're transitioning into 2, and then you transition into 3 by the time you get to the traffic.
That's the situation I'm referring to on Todd Road.
Right.
But I don't foresee people taking the extra step to go loop around back to the building to be able to go out to Todd Road to get out to.
Not to get out to that intersection.
Yeah.
And it's worse if you do that, you were to come out here, then you're dealing with the traffic cues when the light turns red.
On the previously approved version of this, there was a sidewalk that the commission discussed on Todd Road. I don't see a sidewalk here on this rendering. Wondering.
No, there wasn't. I don't.
Platt Road.
On Platt Road, was the sidewalk on Platt Road?
Yes,
It was on Platt Road.
Oh,
Platt Road.
Platt Road.
Yeah,
Not on
Platt Road,
Todd,
yeah.
just on.
On Platt Road.
On Platt Road. I'm certainly, that can be raised, that issue. I mean, it's one of those situations of a sidewalk to nowhere. One of the other options to do is to lay it in like you required the
Site to be prepared.
at Fountain Square, where you had a sidewalk from Parrot to the main entrance, but then from there below, you
was
have
just
them,
make provisions
you have
for
them set it up so there could be a sidewalk when you have the sidewalk plan.
Correct.
You know, that there
But since
are
there
plans for down the road
All
with
right.
respect to the right of way, but they aren't, that there's still the lease of the car.
I'll just say, because it was discussed previously when this first came to the commission, I think the thought was that given that there are people who walk along Bridgeport Ave, there's a bus route on Bridgeport Ave. At the time, we were, as they would come before us, trying to get sidewalks in so that ultimately there could be a connectivity of sidewalks. And since this will be such an attention grabber and people coming, and if people are going on bus stops or coming off the bus stop, it might be a good idea to keep that sidewalk there.
Attorney Thomas,
yeah.
what happened to the plan that was presented in a work session that the parking space lot that Curtis Ryan leases would be somewhat of a public park.
That,
and
it's called a pocket park.
Pocket park.
That is something that's totally separate, being dealt with DOT.
Mhm.
Right now, the lease is what is known as a bid lease. Because there's no intention, there's no abutters.
Mhm.
So, right now, there's no intention of the state to discontinue that lease at this point. If
Or
they did,
change the leases or who's the-
or change, well, change leases,
or give someone else the opportunity.
all I can tell you is we meaning SLR, me, are working with the state, and I'm actually had conversations with, I have to have conversations with the very tall guy on the second floor called the mayor,
Mhm.
because he has to be involved
Mhm.
in all of this, because the quote unquote butter is the city of Shelton.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So we are in discussion on it, but it is a bit more complex than one
Right.
would.
But the potential
The potential
does
exists.
exist for something in the future that could turn that
Exactly
into
along the area.
with
of
a
the-
path.
The right of way.
Through
So I think as long as Dave and Todd, if there's any comments on whether or not it can be put on, I don't think there would be any problem with the development.
Okay.
It was a requirement that we wanted because of safety for many reasons.
Mhm.
And, you know, there was one commissioner who was really pushing for Todd Road, which I didn't really think for the use that was being proposed at that point, that the Todd Road made much sense, but it was more safety for the folks that, especially now with it being proposed to be a McDonald's, for safety, that there should be some sort of crosswalks for the people that say they're getting their car detailed, right? They leave their car off at Splash and they walk across the street to get a cup of coffee or a egg
Mhm.
McMuffin or whatever. So there should be sidewalks and crosswalk.
Well, the ability to put a sidewalk in, I'm normally not one that spends my clients' money without asking them first, but I don't think a sidewalk would be a problem going down Platte Road.
And since you're
Putting in-
already reconfiguring that
Intersection.
the state road
Mhm.
or the state area.
The intersection.
In the
We
intersection,
config-
then you can possibly extend so that people that are getting off the bus or people that are coming from Big Y, walking across the street, have a sidewalk instead of
There's
walking in the
no,
road.
we'd have to interfere with the lease.
Well, you can't put a sidewalk there, some sort of pathway there,
There's a fence and the pavement
right against the road?
right
Yeah.
against and matter of fact, Dave, you can comment on it. That existence of where that parking lot is, that impacted your design for the intersection, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we put the bypass in, we are right up against the property line there, where the fence is.
How much space is there between the fence line and the road?
Today, not much. I could look, it's probably in the actual plans. I don't know if it shows up on Todd's survey or not. Let me see. I have those plans as well.
I mean, certainly these are things, when we go to the DOT, we have to go through the DOT process. These are certain things we could raise with them. They
I
do
would
have,
definitely raise that.
they do have flexibility in any lease, because I've negotiated several leases with them.
Yeah, because I think
So-
they'd only use at most one or two car.
Yeah,
spaces.
I'm not saying we couldn't do anything. It's just not within our control to say we would do it. Just like the crosswalks. The crosswalks, even across city roads, you have to get the approval of your traffic authority, which is your police department.
Well,
to
and
be
I
able to
think
do
there should be a crosswalk on Todd Road as well.
Mhm.
Got that in.
Yeah, and I think that's a very logical place to put
Yeah.
a crosswalk in that situation.
This drawing's not to scale, but just looking at it, it looks like it's maybe 3 feet or so. This line with the X's is the fence, and this line here is the edge of the road today.
Oh, you got room for a sidewalk.
It certainly would not be, the sidewalk that the state, I would imagine your engineering department would want a 5-foot sidewalk, yeah, pretty sure that's not 5 feet.
Yeah. The state, it's gotta be ADA.
Dave, I'll measure it. I just need a second.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Well, I would definitely inquire with the state about that.
Yeah, when you're dealing with the state, and this I can tell you for sure, all the sidewalks have to be ADA compliant.
Right.
You know,
Oh, I
and
see.
they are
ADA.
really strict on that. Really strict.
Yeah. I'd rather
Even
have
for
no
pedestrian
sidewalk than a-
safety.
Yeah, they'd rather have people walk in the street than on the skinny sidewalk.
Absolutely.
I had one very angry client trying to go over what the 2-degree slope means or whatever.
Okay.
Well, I
But
know,
anyway, yeah,
I
well,
do
you
know
know,
there's a
again,
lot of, there's a lot
yeah.
of strollers with babies that
Right, and-
utilize
and-
Todd Road.
what I'm saying to you is, this is the unusual
Shelter.
situation is that
Oh.
you are appropriately having discussions with us about offsite matters that are in the jurisdiction of the DOT. I'm not saying it's a no. I'm saying we can certainly raise the issues.
Mhm,
We have had success in some conversations,
mhm.
and we have had Dominic raising his voice in other conversations with DOT.
Well, it's just so that it
Yeah.
makes your sidewalk not a sidewalk to nowhere.
Nowhere,
It
exactly.
actually
Attorney-
makes
Attorney
sidewalk.
Thomas, that the distance from the curb line to the fence at that location that Dave pointed out is approximately 4.5 feet.
All right, we're getting close then.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much, is any of that being used up for the road widening?
Pretty much all of it.
Pretty much all of it. So we would have to, and we are willing to go to the DOT rights of way. That's where you would,
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do the bypass without taking something there.
right, so we would. we
So
would
you
have
need to get them to give up
we-
something just for the bypass.
No, the bypass is gonna use up some of that, but not all of it. But yes, I certainly can raise the issue with rights of way and District 3 that we would like to put a sidewalk and connect it up there as the beginning of a pedestrian access. That's a priority with them. And it would mean, remember, this is a bid lease. This is not a long term, you know what I mean? They, meaning they have the right to go in and make their changes whenever they want.
Mhm. And the bus stop is on the Splash Car Wash side.
The bus stop is across.
Yes,
across
across the street, right.
And the property next to the bus stop, between the property between the DOT right of way and the Splash Car Wash is owned by one City of Shelton.
Oh,
All right, what's next for us?
If there's no more questions on the traffic or anything, finally, we would, is Colleen Hazelton on? Colleen could review,
okay.
I'm here.
and she can review
Elevation?
the elevation.
Absolutely. Let me share my screen.
Colleen, just for the record, identify yourself fully for the transcript.
Absolutely. My name is Colleen Hazelton. I'm the design project manager for McDonald's for this project. So if you can all see my screen here.
Yes.
All right. So we took a very high consideration in reducing and lightening up the color of the building. So I'll just kind of like start with the front elevation. We're flanked here by these wooden battens, which is a traditional new McDonald's exterior finish. We are showing a majority of the building is brick with a lighter color ACM metal panels above, along with our typical white canopy that wraps around to the non-drive-through side of the building. It kind of flanks our entrances, and this is our focal point of the building. So as we're moving back, we have a good portion of the building, about 2/3 of the building is this whitewashed brick color with a different color metal reveal panel above. And then each corner of the building also has these wooden battens as well. As we wrap around to the drive-through side, we have the about 2/3 of the brick as well with the metal reveal panels. And then this is a different type of metal that kind of emulates brick that we lightened up as well. That would be for each one of the 3 drive-through windows. on the drive-through side. And above each window, there is a canopy that shields the cars from any sort of weather or rain that is at each of the windows. And then as we move around to the back of the building, it kind of just repeats that same pattern with the battens on either corner of the rear of the building, 2/3 brick, and then the lighter color metal reveal. I would like to add also that the brick that we chose is very similar to the one that was approved at Crown Point Center. And I do have photos of that location if you would like to see, just for kind of comparison. I will pull those up. And this is just for kind of a brick, just to show the brick. And let me see if I can.
This drawing, what are those 3 doors for in the non-drive-through side?
Sure.
What are
So this first door here is accesses to the back of the house, the dry storage. This second door here, we do have a CO2 closet so that when they come and fill our bulk CO2 tanks, that they don't have to disturb the operations in the kitchen, and they just fill the tank and go. And then this third door, it leads right directly into our freezer coolers, so that again, when deliveries are made, you know, we'll either get a dry goods delivery or a perishable delivery, and it'll go directly into the freezer cooler, not disturbing any sort of operations or the drive-through, so everything keeps flowing.
Okay. When are these deliveries made?
The deliveries are made off hours. In between peak times, it's usually either very first thing in the morning or kind of a midday.
Well, midday, if you've got cars queued there to be ordering, how are you going to manage that?
It would be an off-peak hour up for the drive-through. We have specifically designed this site to have the 2 lanes for the drive-through, and then there is also kind of the bypass lane in between, and then the parking. The truck would pull in depending on how busy the drive-through is, and along that kind of parking side, just park there and then shoot everything through these doors.
So they would park, the truck would come in and park between the parallel parking places and the second line of cars in queue?
Yeah, McDonald's statistics have shown midday to be their off-peak time.
So when I say midday, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, off peak hours.
Off-peak hours. They have, believe me,
They know what these
substantial
are like.
statistics.
So is it thought that mostly it's gonna be the employees that are gonna be parking along that parallel, those parallel spots?
Yes, most likely.
Thank you. This seems like a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I can just have one door and then go to the left and the right once they get inside.
Well, there's a higher efficiency with the multiple doors, so that the delivery trucks can come in, do the deliveries, and get out. It's designed to be as fast as possible.
I think what Commissioner Parkins is referring to, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, is you open one door and straight ahead of you is the door to go to the dry storage, or to the left, and straight ahead is the one for the CO whatever, and the one to the right inside goes to the freezer. So you have one
Correct.
exterior door, but 3 places inside a
little
hallway that you can go. Is that possible?
That would have to cause us to redesign our entire kitchen, which would affect the flow of the drive-through and just kind of our operations in general.
So there's no space that you could take away for a little lobby and for that kind of thing.
They kind of do a study.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just want to find out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it would affect our operations. It would affect the drive-through. It would affect the site as a whole. if we were to redesign our kitchen.
We're the
Yeah,
first
this is,
ones to ask that?
I'm sure we're not.
Are we the first ones to ask that, Colleen?
No.
This is Eric Wagner from McDonald's. I just want to add a couple of points about those doors as well. The second door of the CO2 room, that is a completely
Sir,
sealed
wait a
room.
minute, sir. State your name again. It
Yeah,
got a
it's
little garbled.
Eric Wagner from McDonald's, and I'm the area construction manager for the project.
Good.
That's
Go ahead.
that second door for the CO2 room is a completely sealed in room to keep the CO2 separate from the kitchen. It does have a light outside in case there was ever a leak of CO2, and then we also have them in the kitchen itself, so it helps protect the employees in case there was ever a leak. And to Colleen's point about the efficiency of the deliveries, because of these separate doors, we can keep our delivery orders down to about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As long as they don't go in and grab a burger.
Yes.
Yeah, they could order on the app and somebody could bring it out.
There you go.
I did
Okay.
want to one more point that was about the site plan earlier. I think the chairman had asked about the dedicated parking spaces for the pull forward spaces. The last two spaces in that plan are dedicated for the pull forward.
So the ones that are, where a white and a blue car, that area
Yes.
there. Okay.
Correct.
Commissioner Parkins did bring up about where the employees would park, and that's on the side where the lanes, the stacking area. But with the entrance being, looks like the entrance is,
We have two entrances to the building. So we have on the front is an entrance, and then on the 9 drive-through side is an entrance
okay,
as
and then
well.
okay.
And then
Good.
there's also the entrance into the kitchen, where most likely the employees will just go directly into the kitchen.
Okay. All right, what else do you have for us, Colleen? I just want to thank you for coming up with a new color scheme. The previous one was not a place that I sort of connected to having a place where I would go to have a Happy Meal.
Understood. Absolutely. So, and I also did provide just kind of a blow up of each one of our finishes, just so that you can see it better.
Okay. Attorney Thomas, you have anybody else?
By the way, I have a black on black car, so the dark gray didn't bother
Oh,
me.
my mistake though, because Colleen, you were going to go to another screen. Okay, there you go. That's the
Yes.
comparison between this and Crown Plaza.
No, this is their,
No,
this-
no,
these
this
are
is
the blow ups.
This is a blow up of all of our finishes. Let me grab the Crown Plaza really quick here. I do have those photos open.
Okay. How many McDonald's are in the works and through 2024? You have any idea?
Across the country, or the ones that I'm working on specifically?
A lot.
A lot.
All right, so this is Crown Point Plaza.
Correct. And the brick is a very similar, actually, the brick that we're proposing is just a slightly bit lighter, but the brick is very, very similar with the same kind of color metal panels as well. So I
Okay.
just wanted to show those for comparison.
This is a recent picture.
Correct.
Because they had been going through some site work on there.
Good see the grant.
Yep.
Are these franchise?
Excuse me?
Is this a franchise?
No idea.
McDonald's?
McDonald's,
Oh,
Yeah. Are they franchises?
Or corporate?
other franchises.
Okay, what else do you have for us,
I
Attorney
I
Thomas?
think we've answered all your questions. I hope we have. And we tried to address each of the provisions. And I did, and again, the email that I received, I'll conclude with the email that I received from the city engineer, which was in addition to his report, and this was related to the stacking issue, is that, he said he does not feel there's a need to perform another analysis of it at this point based on the information provided, and he relied on the proprietary information dictating what the site calls for.
Okay, do any commissioners have any questions for Attorney Thomas or the representatives?
They're planting.
I think there is a
Landscape plan?
landscape plan, and I did not caution them, I did tell them, but, yeah,
I didn't see it, but
maybe I'm mistaken. Is Todd still on?
I just want them to be aware of the native plant.
Oh, yeah, the native plant requirements. Is there a landscape plan, Todd, that was
Prepared?
in the packet?
There is, and, my apologies, we did not revisit that, in our revision. So we intended to, and, I think that dropped off our radar, so we would be, again, happy to
Send it back.
comply, with that requirement. I mean,
Okay, that is something that it could be handled on the staff level,
Right.
if at some point. Okay, Mr. Panico, do you have any comments or questions for the applicant?
Not at the present time. I want to look at some of these last minute modifications that were presented. But I think we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, so now we do have to go and have the public portion. We'll start out with any elected official of the city of Shelton who is here in the auditorium that would like to address the commission on this particular application. And just a reminder that comments are limited to just the new material that had been posted to the city's website. Mr. Rossetti, can you grab that sheet? There is anyone here that wanted to comment and has not signed up, please do so at this time. Nobody? Okay, so there is an elected official here, Ms. Alderman McPherson. You want to come up to the table, please?
Feel like I live here.
So do we.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
More so than-
Join the
than we
club.
do.
Welcome.
Elsewhere for century.
You do something about the heat though?
Yeah, right.
Even for our meetings, it's freezing in here.
Okay,
Another
time's
log.
wasting. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, I won't be really that long. I'm just here myself and on behalf of Alderman Anglis and Dalmacy to be in support of the application as presented and from what all we have learned about as well. Whether you enter from Platt on right onto Todd, or whether you enter at the very far end of Todd, this location, we feel is a very good location to have this application. Just so that the commission knows too, that with regard to the bottom of Platt Road where you merge with Bridgeport Avenue, the street committee of the Board of Aldermen, we've had this on our agenda because we have felt for a long time that we wanted to see, just like you have at the very end of Nels Rock Road, the left turn straight and the right turn lane. And we feel that that's something that can be done there.
Well, that's what they're proposing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I only heard 2 lanes. I didn't hear
There's
3.
There's
So
3 lanes.
we're very on board with that, and everything, because we've actually had this on our agenda and we're happy to, do what we can to help with that. So, because, it's gonna work very well and you have the benefit of the light and everything like that. So from everything that, we've seen, we've heard, and everything, so we lend our support, for this application.
Mhm.
So-
Thank you.
Don't say too much because they're paying for it.
I'm not saying, yeah, no, I know, but but we endorse what that,
It works very well
it
across
does.
the street.
Yes, it did.
3 lanes.
Yes, it
Really
did.
It
Right.
absolutely does. It has made a huge difference. So I say, from the street committee standpoint of the
absolutely
Board of Aldermen, we absolutely support that. Because it does work. We've seen the proof that it
Good
does.
solution to the problem.
Absolutely it is. So, again, so that's my comments. I thank you. I thank you for what you do. You have a tough job. Take care.
One person realizes it.
See you later.
Okay, so, no other public officials, elected officials, City of Shelton here in the auditorium. If there's any elected official that is participating remotely, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 to indicate you'd like to be recognized. Mr. Rossetti, anybody there? No, okay, and I'll ask if there's any member of the public that is here in the auditorium that would like to address the commission on this application. We're hearing none. Let me check if there's any member of the public who's participating remotely that would like to comment on this application. Please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9. Mr. Rossetti, anybody? Okay. All right, so how does the commission wish to proceed with this application?
Well, didn't you request a peer review?
What happened with that, Mr. Rossetti?
We coordinated with a few firms. One of them was too busy, one was not interested. We are hoping to hear back from the third.
So they haven't done anything yet?
But so the peer review is restricted to the traffic pattern in the area.
I thought the peer review was just for the stacking.
Yeah,
You asked for
that's all
it.
I
That's
asked
why we
for.
tried to answer it.
Yeah,
So that you hopefully didn't, but the request was only for the stacking.
right.
And we,
And I was just gonna ask the
know,
commission,
again-
do we still want to make that a requirement to go forward?
I mean, this.
Is that
this-
satisfied?
Necessary, it's been
This is your
answered.
city engineer's email,
Yeah.
which says, on the Six Todd roadside, I personally do not feel there's a need to perform another analysis of
Right.
on-site stacking.
Exactly.
That's
Okay,
just-
Commissioner
that's
Tiki,
just
what about
his
you?
email.
Are you satisfied with the information about the traffic pattern?
I don't support a restaurant with a drive-through at this site. It was discussed when we
Okay.
first approved it,
Okay.
and the commission was adamant about that, so it might be a moot point because I don't
Right.
support this at this site.
Okay. Commissioners over on this side?
I think I was one of the people who said we didn't need a
Right.
peer review at the time.
Okay,
We're talking just about the peer review right now?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think it's necessary.
okay. All right, so that topic is off the table. And so again, how does the commission want to proceed with this? Are we at a point where we should continue the public hearing or close it?
I think we should close it.
Okay, can I have a
Before we do
motion?
so, I'd just like to put it on the record, I would like this McDonald's to do something in terms of litter management, whether it be adopting Nels Rock Road, where most of the litter will probably be tossed out the windows of kids going up to the high school. Just some sort of, I know we can't, I've talked to the mayor about actually taxing the fast food establishments in town with a trash tax or something, but he said that has to be legislated up in Hartford, which that'll never happen. So I would hope that they would be amenable to some sort of sponsorship of Nels Rock Road or something to show
Nels-
that they're helping with the litter situation.
Okay, so you concern more across the intersection or you
Anywhere,
including Platte
anywhere.
Road? Okay, in the
Yeah.
vicinity.
Just
Okay,
show us you're gonna do something. Put a sign, say, please be nice or respectful. I don't know. Let them think about it. They've got creative people on staff.
Yep.
How does the commission feel about the city engineer put a letter not supporting this project? The applicant answered them, but we heard back from the city engineer if he accepted all of those.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
You know, all these things happened in the last like 2 days, so I mean, I understandable, but there's still an open hole.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues that I think I would point out that, number one, the email with respect to the issue of stacking doesn't sound like he's not supporting it. And I don't know why it wasn't uploaded. I have a copy of it. I can pass it out to everybody if you want it. Because I was provided with a copy of it, number one. Number two, as was pointed out by Todd Ritchie, some of it were related to the fact that he apparently did not know that there were items on the website. The drainage report that was on the website was uploaded in early February or late January, and the roadway plan, when he talked about the off-site improvements, I think what he may have done is looked at the site engineering, but if you recall, the site engineering plan was uploaded and the roadway improvements were in actually a separate packet. All the roadway improvements, and those were up there. So we addressed it. The only thing, as Mr. Ritchie talked about, Todd Ritchie talked about, the issue of the 2 inches, we went through, both he and I went through thoroughly the stormwater ordinance, which makes it easy to do it when you have word search and the PDF. We went through it back and forth, could not find it. When as Todd Ritchie explained, under the DEEP stormwater manual, that isn't required, and they addressed it. Those were the major issues, and 2 of them, and I agree with you. The report was done 2 weeks ago. The report was uploaded last week. So we, as soon as we found out about it, as soon as I went on the website and said, whoops, there's something else here, I downloaded it, gave it to them, and we responded as fast as we could. But anyway, here's a copy of his.
All right, but the choice is, do we continue the public hearing and set a limit for the city engineer to respond by April 10th, which is our next meeting? And if he does not, then we can close the public hearing and discuss it and just come to a consensus on what we want to do. Or do we?
That's,
Well, I
Close it
want to, I
tonight.
want to know about the sidewalks too.
Mhm.
I want
that's fair. enough.
confirmation from the developer about the sidewalks.
Okay, if it
Okay.
is, that's probably fair enough then, because you can then reach your consensus at that point on
Mhm.
the 10th also, and give them an opportunity to respond with us having an opportunity
Mhm.
to respond.
All right, so if everyone is in agreement, is there a motion to continue the public hearing until April 10th with the request that the city engineer come back to us with any information that he wants to respond to? And then also for the applicant to
Confirm the
finalize
sidewalk.
the sidewalks.
And I would state for the record, normally when I upload things, I do not email in them, but because of the time frame, when I uploaded the engineer's response and the plans, I sent them to Rimis, so that he had them right away. So he did have them first thing yesterday morning, but I think if you want to wait for the response, and only continue it to the 10th, that would be appropriate.
I'll motion then. Need a motion.
Well, are you-
Continue
you're
the
not
public
gonna share
hearing?
the-
Continue the public hearing.
Attorney Thomas, what were you saying?
No, I'm just concerned about commission
I'll be
members
second.
not being, but anyway.
Can you watch it?
Well, you're just gonna be taking a consensus.
Well, I've got a 5 o'clock flight out of New York to
Oh.
North Carolina,
Mhm.
and I'm landing at 7, so I'll be in the air.
We could work out the order of the agenda. So-
Yeah, I can get on at 7 when I land, if all things go well.
Exactly. All right, so there's a motion to continue the public hearing from Commissioner Tiki and
I'll
a
second it.
second from Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion to continue, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Let the record show that the vote to continue public hearing until April 10th was approved by a vote of 6-0 with no commissioners voting nay and no commissioners abstaining. Okay. All right, so next public hearing is application 2402. Which is Dominic, PDD number 91, Dominic Thomas for Fountain Square LLC at 745, 795 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 28. Lot 18 for a major modification of a PDD, modification of initial development concept plans, amendment to the statement of uses and standards, and final site development plan approval for a 170-unit residential use in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G, and removal of the proposed hotel, office building, and internal fountain. This application was accepted for review on February 14th, 2024. Public hearing opened February 28th. Documents posted to the city's website for review include the PDD application, the fourth amended statement of uses and standards with Schedule A, original and revised site engineering plans, architectural floor plans, color elevations, 2 traffic reports, a fire safety report, a rental vacancy chart, sign posting photos, and a certificate of mailing. Since the opening of the public hearing on the 28th, an economic analysis and a planner's report were posted to the city's website. Attorney Thomas, did I miss anything?
No.
Okay. Mr. Rossetti's not here, so we're not, he would have to confirm when he returns if there was anything received within the time period but not yet posted to the city's website that need to be acknowledged for the record. What? And that's a good idea. Ms. Castro, are you still with us?
Yes.
Was there any correspondence received within the time period for this proposal but not yet posted to the city's website that we need
No.
to acknowledge?
No.
Okay, very good. All right, Attorney Thomas, please identify yourself for the record and proceed.
Attorney Dominic Thomas, Conan Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. I would ask if Ms. Castro can admit John Guskowski and Zoe Chatfield. There's, sorry. Or, at the previous public hearing, we addressed, and in fact, the economic thing, well, we posted the day of the public hearing was addressed at the last public hearing, along with all the engineering, the architecture, traffic report, parking report, everything else was addressed. At this point, we would like to just have you have John Gutkowski address the commission. He's the author of the planning report. And Madam Chair, I did misstate once. There was one thing I uploaded today, which was John Gutkowski's CV. I had forgot to attach it when I uploaded his curriculum vitae.
Oh, okay.
That's
Got it.
all. And I brought along copies of the CV and paper copies of it. But that was the only thing I uploaded today because I had forgot to attach it to the report. So with that, I would ask Mr. Gutkowski to address his report that he's filed, which hopefully you all have a copy of.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. I really appreciate the opportunity to present a brief summary of my report this evening. For the record, my name is John Guskowski. I'm a professional planner and principal with Tyche Planning and Policy Group. I'm joined on the call with my colleague, Zoe Chatfield, who is an associate planner with our firm. I have we submitted the curriculum vitae. I would just like to provide an overview as I'm speaking, hopefully as an authoritative witness.
Okay.
I have over 20 years of experience in Connecticut municipal planning and zoning work. I've worked as a staff planner for over a dozen municipalities, written numerous sets of zoning and subdivision regulations, plans of conservation and development, and over 20 municipal affordable housing plans. I've worked extensively on 830G applications and with special development districts. I'm the government relations officer for the Connecticut chapter of the American Planning Association, in which role I've assisted in the drafting of numerous pieces of legislation concerning planning, zoning, GIS, housing, and transportation. I'm widely recognized as an authority on local land use policy in Connecticut, and as I stated, I've submitted these credentials for the record. Tonight, I was asked by the applicant to review this proposed development and modification of the PDD relative to Shelton policies and plans. We have reviewed the development application, the Shelton zoning regulations, your plan of conservation and development, 2017 update, and your 2023 affordable housing plan. Noting that this is an 830G application, I'll set aside for a second the issue of 830G, which places the burden on the city in this case to demonstrate why a development is inappropriate rather than the burden on the developer to demonstrate appropriateness. Setting that aside, we've identified numerous reasons in Shelton's adopted plans and policies why this is a highly appropriate and beneficial proposal. We've detailed this in the five-page letter of testimony we submitted for the record, but I'd like to summarize that briefly. The Plan of Conservation and Development update, the 2017, includes several goals, including increasing economic activity in the suburban office and industrial areas, and noting that this application would add appropriate high-density residential uses in close proximity to shopping, jobs, and transit. Second goal is to improve, to improve traffic safety and circulation. And the development, the residents of this development, if approved, would be able to access services, shopping, jobs, and transit opportunities, reducing vehicle miles traveled and auto dependency. There's a very specific quote in the Plan of Conservation and Development that says, quote, economically beneficial residential development that control bedroom counts that seek to minimize future municipal revenue potential in order to maintain a balanced and healthy community is a priority. And as we discussed in our report, this development is studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, which have the highest revenue cost ratio and generate relatively few children out of their development. Further goals of the POCD is to continue to provide for income diverse housing. That's a quote. And again, this is a 30% affordable, 70% market rate development, so precisely income diverse. And the plan promotes the use of mixed use economic growth areas, which again is exactly the point of the planned development district for this project plan. Your 2023 affordable housing plan focuses on deed restricted rental housing as the principal tool for achieving an increase in affordability in Shelton. That is your principal implementation goal. This project delivers precisely on that. And further, the affordable housing plan specifically recommends requiring that high density residential proposals include affordability restrictions for 40 years, which of course this proposal provides via the 830G requirements. In terms of your zoning regulations and the planned development district process, that also supports the amendment and the development proposal. Specifically, it encourages the commission not to look at the zoning uses allowed in the underlying zoning, but examining the overall desirable uses of the given area and how this creates long-term positive impacts and community outcomes. And those positive impacts are seen in several considerations. First, this is a transit-oriented development and located in an ideal live, work, shop, play area for the residents and employees. Second, it is targeted by its mix of unit sizes for young professionals and downsizers. Third, this does not, statistically, it should not create any new pressure on the school system. Now, obviously, kids are great. I'm never going to say that we want to discourage children in our communities, but statistically, very few children are generated by developments of this type. These are 170 new units, studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms. And with that mix, statistically, and we included some numbers in our report, very unlikely to produce more than, say, 20 kids over 170 units, which, over, general distribution, population distribution, that's less than 2 kids per grade in a school system with sufficient capacity. This is not going to be a concern along those lines. Fourth, this does provide mixed income housing, which is a strong goal of all of your plans. And finally, this meets an enormous need for affordable rental housing and rental housing in general. Shelton is a destination town for jobs. You have over 20,000 people coming into town for jobs. Unfortunately, most of those people can't live in Shelton because there is not supply. And your current or your most recent recorded rental vacancy rate is less than 1%, which is basically by saying you have no vacancy at all in your rental multifamily housing market. This is an incredible need in town, and this proposal, even if it was not an 830G application, there is enormous justification in your regulations, your plan of conservation and development, and your affordable housing plan to strongly support this application. And I encourage you to do so, and happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
I have a question. What are you basing your comment about Shelton has 20,000 people coming to work every day and those people cannot afford to live in or rent in Shelton?
Okay, sorry.
How do you base it? Do you survey all those 20,000 people?
There is a U.S. Census Bureau tool called On the Map, and that based on the American Community Survey, it indicates the number of jobs in town, the number of people that live in town and work in town, the number of people who live in town, work out of town, and the number of people who live out of town and work in town. And that number, as of the most recent community survey, you have over 20,000 people. Oh, there we go. My colleague Zoe just shared your screen. Hopefully people can see that. You have over 23,000 people coming into town to work. You have another, many people working elsewhere, but there are people that are coming to Shelton all the time. That ideally, in many cases, people would love to reduce their travel distances, would like to lower their commute, would like to live in a town like Shelton. And when I say I don't believe I use the phrase couldn't afford to live in Shelton. there's no opportunity to rent because there is no vacancy. There is no supply for anyone looking to live in the town they work. There is just not that opportunity. That was my statement.
Documentation that shows expressly that those 2,768 people net, or the 23,000 coming in, definitely would want to live in Shelton. They have no familiar ties to some other location in the county.
I'm not making that claim.
Okay. Well, then, how do you? Yeah, it is a supposition, so.
It is about as well known as anything you can imagine that people would prefer to work where they live. The point is, Shelton happens to be a destination, an employment destination, an employment center.
Mhm.
And the fact of the matter is that from everybody on down, they're being, and CEOs and everybody is encouraging to concentrate more housing so that we can, so that the employers can get more employees, can be more attractive, can attract people into the state, because we're an employment center with multinational and large businesses along with small businesses. And the fact of the matter is, when you have as John said, when you have a vacancy rate of 1%, you can decide you want to be here. And even if of the 23,000, 5,000 wanted to work, you would be improving the ability of empty spaces to be rented and businesses in Shelton to attract employees.
Well,
that is the goal.
That may be true, but there's a lot of companies, offices and whatnot that people work at that have other offices in other cities.
Correct.
So, you can't say, well, they all come to Shelton because, there's 4 or 5 doctors' offices that have offices in Fairfield, offices in Westport, so on and so forth. They may be going to there too, that they may be closer to their home.
And the fact is, there's work live. If you read the paper every day, there's an article about work live every day.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
that, but-
that is one factor, and it's a factor that relates to Shelton. If you want to be able to brag that you're an employment center.
Mr. Guskowski, did you take into consideration that there are people that are still working remotely? And not everyone needs to go into an office 5 days a week?
All I'm presenting you is the most recent data we have available to us, ma'am.
Okay, so was there any data that talked about that?
When was that sent?
This was the American Community Survey that covered through 2021. So it's possible some of the let's call it COVID hangover of work from home is not reflected. And I think, but the latest vacancy numbers again demonstrate that I think it is unquestionably clear that Shelton's housing is a high demand market. And when, by establishing housing opportunities near both transit and employment opportunities, you are providing some relief from that very high demand market and providing opportunities for people who may wish, and I'm not, claiming that I know what's in everyone's mind and who's telecommuting and who has 2 offices that they work between, that there are clearly people interested in renting housing in Shelton. And this proposal provides more opportunity to meet that need in addition to the affordable elements and the transit friendly elements.
With your study, you mentioned Shelton design. Is there any other town like Shelton that has a high demand for apartments, so on and so forth?
I mean, yes. Connecticut as a whole has under a 2% or about a 2 to 2.5% vacancy rate. Fairfield County is the extreme end of that. We are seeing patterns like this. I'm sorry?
The 3% unemployment. So
yeah,
so
there's low unemployment and there's low housing demand. I mean, there's low housing supply.
Any town in Connecticut, basically.
I don't think the mayor would be very happy with that comment.
Well, I don't care
I
if the
think-
mayor is
yeah,
happy or
But what I
not.
mean is, I think Shelton has
More
identified
attractive
its.
because of the low taxes.
Yeah,
when they build
right,
these
exa-
Apartment buildings. That's what it
Exactly,
is.
You're
exactly.
attractive because you have an employment base. And I mean, you're more than welcome. In a situation like this, you're more than welcome to go out and find a planner who can analyze the statistics and
No,
show that
I-
John is wrong.
Dominic, that's not my point.
Yeah.
My point is that we're not alone in this.
Oh, no, the whole state is,
Right. we're
the
not
whole
alone.
state is covered with it. But you're not just, it's not, the other thing is, Shelton is an employment center.
Yes.
Around here, and describing it, you look at where, you put a pin in this location, and you look around at everything, including, you go a half a mile away, and you've got 250,000 square feet of Lockheed Martin that's been leased through the middle of the 2030s. And you have an abundance of companies moving in where other towns are suffering higher vacancy rates. You're not here in your town. It's desirable. The other reason that makes it desirable is you as a commission have provided on Bridgeport Avenue an abundance of services. So you've made it very desirable. And you've heard me in the past say, if you don't want Shelton to be that desirable, increase the taxes and increase the crime. And the fact of the matter is, the mayor, I mean, this is the first increase in, I don't know how long it's gone up, but the fact is it's still tiny. It's still, and that is attractive to the businesses. The problem is your businesses are having difficulty getting employees, not just yours, throughout the entire state. The other great thing about this site is that you can walk down, walk out, walk to the bus stop, get on that bus stop and go in two directions. Go to the Bridgeport train station, which abuts the Bridgeport Metro North Station. Go the other way, go to the Derby bus station, connect with Connecticut Transit and go to work at Yale, if you did want to choose to do that. So you have the ability of both places. You have the ability of getting to other towns here in many ways. It is one of the most, it may be a problem throughout the state, but it is one of the most unique areas in the state to address that, such an employment center to address it with housing.
I think somebody should do a poll to figure out how many people that live in all these apartments that are in Shelton actually use mass transit. I think we'd be really surprised at the low numbers that actually do.
They're gonna drive.
Yeah.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Guzekowski?
No,
Mr.
very impressive CV.
Mr. Panico, do you have any comments for Mr.?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, so Attorney Thomas, who's
I
gonna
did that.
review that?
I reviewed that at the last minute. I can review it again. I reviewed that at the last public hearing.
thought
I
this
went
was
over it
just-
at the last. public
I
hearing.
thought that was new. This is in
I-
a
it
chart
was-
form, verbally, but not,
No, I uploaded it the day of the hearing.
oh,
That's why you got, but then I reviewed it that night.
okay.
And that is the comparison economically
Mhm.
Right. we
of
did
that, which I went
Okay.
through, comparing it to existing office buildings,
Mhm.
existing hotels. And as I said, I did
Yeah,
it
I remember.
conservatively because for some reason, the Hilton Gardens is valued 30% more than the other, by your assessor, than the other hotels. I couldn't,
Okay,
even higher than Courtyard.
all right, so is there anything else you wanna? go
No, I
over
think
tonight?
we've, at this point, with respect to this application, we've concluded our presentation of, we addressed all the issues, most of the last, the only one was the planner
Mhm.
at this.
Okay, so I have to ask if there's anyone in the audience here at the City Hall that would like to comment on this application? Is there a sign-up sheet there, Mr. Harger?
Trying to work.
Nobody.
Go puppy.
You can,
Good timing.
you
Thank
can
you.
build time and a half to that.
Alex.
Double.
Double.
Okay. All right, if there's anybody in the public who is not here in the auditorium, but participating remotely that would like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Mr. Rossetti, you have any? And indicating that? No, okay. All right, so, no further comments from Attorney Thomas. How does the commission wish to proceed with this application? Do you feel we need to continue it or close the public hearing?
Me neither.
I think we can close it.
I have to give the option.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just, my
So-
comment is,
Yeah.
why, yeah.
All right, so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
All right, Commissioner
I'll
Kelly
second
made the motion to close, seconded by Commissioner Lascos. So on the motion to close, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? I'll let the record show the vote was 6-0 with no commissioner voting nay or abstaining. Okay. So this particular application will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting for discussion by the commission.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right, next agenda item.
We're just deciding.
Oh.
Next is old
Don't
business.
encourage.
Moving on to application 2228, Dominic Thomas for Recar LLC and Mayanis Holdings LLC. At 704, 712, 722, and 726 River Road, assessment map 22, lots 1 and 2, and map 32, lots 16 and 17 for modification to PDD number 66 and final site development plans to increase the size of the PDD from 8.645 acres to 11.981 acres, relocate and increase the size of the previously approved restaurant and event facility, increase 102 previously approved apartments to 110 apartments, and add 35 condominium units to the existing site. So this particular application, not counting previous applications, no. It was, the public hearing for this application was closed by the commission on January 10th. Do you want to do some discussion this evening? Do you want to move forward with a resolution that had been prepared? It's,
Resolution.
Yeah,
Mhm. Does it hit all the high points?
I think it does.
Yeah.
Resolution. Lori. All right, so if you want to proceed to the resolution, I will ask Mr. Panico to read the resolution to the commission.
Since this resolution was prepared by Alex, maybe he should be the one to read it.
Here.
I
Mr.
can
Rossetti?
read it if you wish, but I just thought he was the author.
Sure, Mr. Rossetti? You want to do that?
Okay, regarding application 2228, 704, 726 River Road for a modification of PDD number 66 for final site development plans. The applicant attorney Dominic Thomas for Car LLC and Mayanis Holdings LLC at 704, 712, 722, and 726 River Road for final site development plan approval, including the expansion of PDD number 66 from 8.6 acres to 11.9 acres, a relocation and an increase in the size of the restaurant and event facility with medical office space above, increasing the 102 previously approved apartments to 110 apartments with 15 affordable units and adding 35 condominium units for a total of 145 units. The already approved development includes a public marina with related service facilities, a maintenance area, a low-profile dock, limited boat storage, a public restaurant, rowing club facilities, a public walk around the entire site, including along the riverfront, expanding parking areas, 3 paddle tennis courts, and landscaped areas. The 11.9 acre property consists of 4 parcels and runs north to south between the Housatonic River on the east and Connecticut Route 110 to the west.
Its topography slopes steeply down from west to east in varying degrees of pitch due to the prior development on the site and lies entirely within the coastal area boundary. The two northern parcels, 704 and 712 River Road, each contain a single family residence with an access way in the rear of the lots by the Housatonic River or the Beacon Point Marina. These lots will undergo significant earthwork and require 20-foot high retaining walls to accommodate this proposal. The Beacon Point Marina at 722 River Road occupies 5.8 acres and has already been graded significantly for use by the boatyard. Additional grading will need to be done along the eastern side of the property to provide more parking space and room for the paddle courts. The auto switch site at 726 River Road has undergone significant grading during the time it was a manufacturing operation. Current contamination on the site will require substantial remediation. Only minimal grading for the upper parking lot area closest to River Road will be required. However, the restaurant, office building, and lower parking lot areas will require extensive grading and retaining walls. PDD number 66 was originally approved in October 2007, and various modifications were approved afterwards in 2007, 2008, 2017, and 2018. Prior to this current application, application 1802 was submitted to modify PDD 66 to eliminate 2 of the 5 previously proposed residential buildings and reducing the requested residential density to 98 dwelling units. The marina component became open to the public, was reduced to 100 slips, boat sales and certain marina maintenance facilities were eliminated, and the boating club facilities were retained, and the full-service public restaurant was restored. However, after extensive conversation, the commission was unsatisfied with the evidence provided regarding sewer service availability from Stratford, and the commission voted to deny said application 1802 without prejudice to allow the applicant additional time to obtain the necessary assurances regarding the provision of sanitary sewer service. On July 10th, 2018, application 1815, which did not contain further changes to the initial development concept plans, but did include evidence from the town of Stratford's WPCA, Water Pollution Control Authority, that a sewer system could be used by the applicant's proposal. The commission accepted the new application for review, and a public hearing opened on September 26th, 2018. After 2 extensions to continue the public hearings were approved by the commission. The commission discussed and approved application 1815 on March 12th, 2019. Application 2228 was accepted for review, and a hearing was set by the Shelton P&Z Commission on November 9th, 2022. A duly noticed public hearing was posted, and a hearing was scheduled for January 25th, 2023, when the applicant and the design team presented the proposal. The January 25th public hearing was continued with additional public hearings held on March 15th, April 19th, and May 24th, 2023. At that meeting, after review and discussion, the P&Z Commission requested staff to facilitate a peer review of the on-site engineering and layout due to the applicant's expansion of the site to include additional abutting property that had been acquired. Upon completion of the review and the submission of additional materials, a public hearing was held on November 29th, 2023, and continued to January 10th, 2024, when the hearing was closed and the commission reached a favorable consensus. The site plans entitled Site Development Plan depicting 704, 712, 722, and 726 River Road, Shelton, Connecticut, prepared for our Great River Water Club, were prepared by Redness and Mead, dated October 28th, 2022, and revised June 6th, 2023. The architectural plans entitled Great River Water Club were prepared by Mingalello and Associates and dated May 18th, 2023. The proposed mixed-use development consists of the following: 3 6-story residential building condos with 35 condo units in one building and 110 rental units divided in 2 apartment buildings. No less than 15 apartment units shall be rented as affordable per Connecticut General Statute 8-30G. Additionally, there are 2 parking spaces per unit. 2, a 3-story, 24,000 square foot building with 8,000 square feet of restaurant space and 16,000 square feet of medical/office space. 3, a 3-story, 26,000 square foot building to house a rowing club. 4, a marina with 128 in-water berths and 100 small boat storage berths. And 5, two all access driveways and 2 one-way driveways off River Road to provide access. While pedestrian mobility is available and expansive throughout the site, with potential integration to sites to the north and south, sidewalks for public use do not exist on River Road. The Greater Bridgeport Transit District's Route 23 offers limited service to the site. 35 unit condominium buildings will have 14 one-bedroom units, 17 two-bedroom units, and 4 three-bedroom units. Combined, the apartment buildings will have 30 one-bedroom units and 80 two-bedroom units, which will be evenly split between the buildings. Of the 110 rental units, 4 of the one bedrooms and 11 of the two bedroom units will be rented at affordable per Connecticut General Statute 830G. The building designs are pleasant in appearance with extensive stonework, front balconies, private rear decks, architectural features, dormers, glass walls, cupolas, attractive siding, and landscaping details throughout the site. From River Road, the maximum height from the entrance grade to the roof peak is 62 feet or less. From the rear or the Housatonic River and looking inland, the building height from the marina grade to the roof peak is about 80 feet. During the public hearing phase, concerns about traffic impacts on Connecticut Route 110, parking, on-site drainage, coastal impact, affordable housing, architecture, fire safety, and the site layout were raised. After ongoing commission and staff review and discussion of the proposal, the commission offers the following comments and findings. 1. The commission and public raised concerns about traffic volume and sight lines from the site. River Road is locally known for its high rates of vehicle speeds and traffic accidents. Ty and Bond's review of the materials presented by SLR and Rennis Mead indicate that this application has demonstrated conformance with the best practices as required by the State of Connecticut's Highway Design Manual. SLR's traffic report recommends that the applicant contribute to a signal warrant analysis with the state and city at the River Road and Long Hill Avenue intersection. The commission concurs with this recommendation. Additionally, because River Road is a state road and because of the project's magnitude, the applicants must be approved by Connecticut DOT/OSTA before a final certificate of occupancy can be issued by the City of Shelton's building officials. 2. The abutting site that was acquired by the applicant in January 2022 has been in a state of disrepair for many years, and plans to rehabilitate that site include a restaurant medical building. 3. The site's extensive drainage and stormwater management system will require regular maintenance to ensure successful performance. The applicant has proposed permeable surface materials in some of the parking areas, which is a preferred low-impact design method allowing surface water to percolate into underlying soils, reducing demand on engineered systems. There is a significant bank run gravel at this location, which is efficient for this use. In the peer review by Ty and Bond, they call out a few discrepancies in the storm pipe calculations, which Rennis and Mead have addressed and will be verified by the city engineer when the applicant applies for permits. Connecticut DEP has reviewed and approved the prior and current applications concerning coastal area management plans, and they are satisfied with this proposal. 4. The City of Shelton and its commission have consistently championed responsible growth, emphasized the expansion of affordable housing through strategic development plans. When this application was first submitted, it did not include any affordable units. However, the applicant has committed to market 15 of 4 apartment units, 10% of the total unit count, at the required affordable rate. To accommodate these affordable units, the total unit count increased. Unit types were adjusted, and the building sizes were reduced overall. 5. The continued operation of a marina and rowing facilities, improved access for public pedestrian activity, other outdoor amenities, and nicely designed landscaping promises to make this an attractive development for future residents. 6. The applicant has also addressed requests by the commission to modify its site plan to include raised crosswalks for pedestrians, refuse enclosures and screening, concrete curbing, 5-foot sidewalks at minimum, planted islands breaking up the residential area parking lots, the use of native plantings, and adequate attractive fencing. Resolution. Whereas the applicant has submitted a major modification and final site development plans for PDD number 60 under Shelton zoning regulations, section 34, for the approval of the mixed-use development. And whereas the applicant has submitted a proposed statement of uses and standards applicable to the PDD proposal to accommodate said proposed development, which statement of use and standards requires further clarification and modification to reflect the latest plan modifications, clarifications and adjustments, as well as incorporate all previously adopted statement of use and standards unchanged provisions. And whereas the commission is familiar with section 34 of the Shelton regulations, as discussed and reviewed in detail, the site intended to accommodate the development and related documents thereto, and subject to the comments and findings set forth above, the commission notes the following. 1, subject to final minor modifications and adjustment, the applicant complies with the requirements for considering a major modification of a PDD and final detailed development plans. 2, after completing 7 public hearing sessions and reviewing all materials, reports, testimony, and details about the site and surrounding area, the commission has identified several findings and concerns as set forth above. 3, upon completing its review and study of the proposal, the commission is satisfied that its concerns relative to public safety, traffic, on-site mobility, stormwater management, environmental remediation, infrastructure adequacy, consistency with the POCD, and site planning have been thoroughly addressed. Therefore, based on the above findings and concerns, all available information and in accordance with the provisions of section 34 of the Shelton regs, the Shelton P&Z Commission has determined that the subject site is suitable for this development as set forth above, and hereby takes the following actions relative to the approval of the subject application 2228. The subject final site development plans are approved, subject to final minor changes based on outstanding concerns. Adoption of the amended and expanded PDD 66 as defined herein, including not more than 90 rental apartments, 15 of which shall be designated as affordable units, a 26,000 rowing club, a 128 berth marina with storage for 100 small boats, and a separate 24,000 square foot building house with 80,000 square feet of restaurant space and 16,000 square feet of medical office space. Approval of the modified coastal area management plan and adoption of the modified Second Amendment statement of uses and standards as revised to address all conditions and concerns set forth.
Is there a motion to move the resolution for discussion?
I'll make the motion.
And is there a second? Okay, so on the motion to move the resolution for discussion made by Commissioner Amato, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Let the record show the motion passed by a vote of 6-0 with no commissioners voting nay or abstaining. I just want to point out for the record, the last therefore, B, I'm going to clarify the figures that are in there. It's not more than 90 rental apartments, 15 of which shall be designated as affordable, a 26,000 square foot rowing club, 128 berth marina with storage for 100 small boats, and a separate 24,000 square foot building housing 8,000 square feet of restaurant space and 16,000 square feet of medical office space. Okay, so who would like to comment on this resolution?
We have been working on this for
Years.
years.
I really hope this is like the end.
I
But-
hope
So do I.
It's like,
they make it happen.
like Groundhog
I
Day.
don't know. Yeah. Beautiful.
I do too.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
do too.
From a-
It's quite an improvement.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the auto swage especially.
Oh, God.
So when you
Remediate that.
clarified 90 apartments though,
Mhm.
it doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up to
I
the,
thought it was 110.
It's 110
10.
rental apartments.
Okay.
right.
Which
it's
just for
110.
everybody's edification, it is net zero for us for affordable housing. Because the amount of units that we're adding, we're getting 10%. So
Oh, exactly,
it's net
right.
zero.
Mhm.
So,
Well.
not what we really wanted to do in our plan, but
We
Well,
had
This
to
was
battle for that.
pre-COVID, wasn't
I
it?
know,
This
I
was
know.
pre-COVID,
we
yeah.
had to battle for that.
Mhm.
The only other thing that I'm concerned about is from a public safety standpoint, that the applicant receives written approval from the Iroquois pipeline. I don't know that that was actually ever hashed out. I'm not involved in that department, so they
There-
typically require
Yeah, there was
written
that,
approval for
There was a
any.
letter.
there was a letter from March of 2023. But and I think Mr. Carl had,
I know they were going back and forth.
yeah, we're having conversations, but we don't, as far as we know, have a formal letter saying that Iroquois is signed off on this particular application, so that can be made as a contingent, condition of approval. Okay, so any other comments, questions, or concerns? Does the commission, is the commission ready to vote on this particular resolution this evening?
I would think so.
Well, is there a motion from anyone
I'll make a motion
to?
to approve
Okay,
with
so
the
there's,
stipulations of the, what was said about the, air quote gas.
okay, with stipulations. Okay. And the correction on the apartment,
Apartments, right.
the count.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Lasko says, seconded it. As stated,
As Kelly stated.
right, okay. All right, so on the motion to approve with the stipulations stated by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Lasko, so do a roll call vote. Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And there was no commissioners voting nay or abstaining.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Panico.
just a note that the effective date anticipated to be Friday, the 29th, unless the applicant has provided the modified statement of uses and standards to be consistent with all the revised proposals, that's not going to be able to be met. I think we need a little more time.
April, how about April 12th? Mr. Rossetti suggesting?
I would imagine a week ought to be ample, although we're in a holiday period, so maybe a little bit longer.
The 12th is what day of the week?
Closest.
That's a Friday? So let's say the following Wednesday? 17th? 2 full weeks, okay. All right, Mr. Rossetti feels that it's 2 full weeks. So he's suggesting April 12th, 2024.
I'm sorry, what will be the new date?
April 12th, Friday, the 12th of April.
April the 12th, okay.
Yeah, which is 2 weeks starting Monday.
Yeah, touring down the road.
Okay.
All right? Okay.
Actually, 2 weeks from this Friday.
Yeah,
Years ago.
April 12th, yeah, you're right. April 12th, 2 weeks from this Friday. That's 12 days, not 13. Long day. All right, so
LA's alumni.
that particular agenda item is set, and I'd just like the commission to, I'd like to ask that the final agenda item, which is the approval of the March 13th minutes, be tabled. Is there any,
Sure, I read them.
That's my.
all right,
I
so
read them. Okay.
is there a motion to table?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion from Commissioner Tiki, second by Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion to table the approval of the March 13th minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let the record show the vote was 6-0 with no commissioners voting or abstaining. And seeing that there's no other agenda item, this meeting is adjourned as of 9:05 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Have a happy
Can
Easter.
I just ask Ms. Castro for clarification on, so in the minute, at the last meeting, you indicated that the signs will be uploaded by the end of the day, the last Friday of each month. So if I recall, the sign committee is now meeting on the first Thursday of the month? That will,
Tuesday, yes.
first Tuesday.
First Tuesday in a.
All right, thank you for that.
No problem.
Your sign committee's backed up now, backing up your meeting date?